Oh, it's your boy.
Whoa, look at you trying to steal my intro. You know what? You just do it. You do the introduction. Connor, are you gonna do the
Hey
introduction?
now, it's your boy PSA Sitch and Adam something.
That
That
was
was
terrible. Hey
beautiful, Adam. Thank you.
now, it's your boy PSA Sitch here with another Tuesday stream, and I want everyone to know that we're not late. We're actually early because we set the stream for 9:10. We're 3 minutes early, baby. Take that.
Yeah. Woohoo.
Today we're joined by Connor, aka Counterpoints.
Yeah. Counterpoints.
We're gonna be talking about the Twitter files. How you doing tonight, Connor?
I'm having a beautiful evening. How about you too?
That's good. Well, now that you're here, I feel so much better. It feels so intimate when you're just so close to this.
Should I make Connor's box a little smaller? I feel like I should.
Chat. Yeah, chat.
Here we go.
Adam
there we
didn't
go.
want us to be intimate. He didn't want us to be close to each other.
Yes.
Diminishing the size. He's diminishing the size of my box to make me less intimidating.
There you go. Listen, you're a scary dude. Okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna make me go
Guess
A-cam
so.
after this conversation.
I do scream the C word a lot, so it's true.
Let's get into this. Come on. Enough messing around. What's
I guess
happening
we'll start.
here?
So, okay. We're going to talk about Twitter files. So what exactly is... So, okay, well, I was saying, I haven't heard the entirety. I heard a little bits and pieces of you arguing with other people about this. I know lots of people were attacking you. I want this to be a loving, productive, happy conversation because I like you, Connor.
Okay.
I want it to be a good conversation. And so what exactly is your position on the Twitter files so far?
So my original, I'm writing a little mini festo.
Hold on a second here. You got to recap the drama. Like there's some major drama.
Okay, Adam.
You basically got beat up, gang jumped in an alley by like 6 people on Destiny's stream. And I mean, they were coming at you from all directions. I think Wicked Supreme was there. I think Cherry was there. Destiny was there. You kept trying to say something to the effect of, Destiny, we're 85% in agreement. We're only 15% off. And Destiny was like, fuck you, buddy. We're like 85% in disagreement. We're like 15%
Which is
in agreement.
bullshit, by the way.
Right?
Like honestly, I just feel like I was the conservative whipping boy because no other conservatives come into lefty spaces anymore. So
well, it turns out Wicked Supreme is like a 007 agent who's got previous intel experience working for all of the 3-letter agencies or something. I had no idea Wicked Supreme was like
he was a
former intel officer or something. So
he was
basically
a Mandarin linguist contractor.
So he basically called you out and was saying, yeah, you don't know anything about all the stuff you're talking about. And it got heated.
Wrong.
Well,
they're still
maybe
wrong.
This is still going on. I mean, I'm here for the interpersonal drama that happened here. I feel like, there was an internet assault that took place.
Can I walk you through the assault and battery for the internet drama?
Show us on the doll where
DGG
touched you.
All right, so basically, I throw out.
What's the Reddit thread look like this morning?
Yeah, I am not going to be on Reddit. I was thinking like I need to get a Reddit. I need to engage with communities. I need to build a community of my own. I need a Reddit. And after this week, I'm like, I am not going to have Reddit. I'm not going to participate in that. But anyways, for the interpersonal drama. So basically, I sent out a few tweets. I say that progressives who are pretending that the Twitter files are a nothing burger are coping. I say that basically that the shoe is on the other foot now. That Elon Musk is in power. I say that conservatives were being suppressed algorithmically, and they were told that they weren't. That's a big deal. I also said that people are being pedantic about the definition of shadow banning. And I said that conservatives who think that people are going to jail over this are coping. I think that nobody's going to go to jail over this. But I think that progressives pretending this is a big deal are... do you guys use the R slur, R word on your
retarded?
Stream?
No, we never say that on our stream.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So basically, I said progressives are still acting like this isn't a big deal or fucking retarded. So anyways, Destiny DMs me and he says, "Hey, would you like to come on stream about Twitter and Elon? That's the total DM. I'll post it as a part of my manifesto. And basically, I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. I like Destiny. Destiny likes me, supposedly. So we'll bullshit. We'll argue about it. It'll be good content. I get on there, and he immediately assigns me the position that the reason why I'm ass mad and talking about the Twitter files is because I think that conservatives are being banned for the sole reason of being conservative. An assertion that I've never fucking made in my entire goddamn life, but he assigns that to me. Then he also assigns to me the fact that, like, in order for him to want to talk about the Twitter files at all, I have to come up with a specific quote inside the Twitter files that is both historic and new. Another thing that I didn't fucking say within any of my goddamn tweets or any of my personal perspectives or any of my political consequences. And anytime I try, or one time I try to break out of the subject and say, like, okay, well, I'd like, I already know what you're going to say. And then anytime I try to forward a positive argument, I just got interrupted. So, yeah, that's kind of my summary of the first debate. Any questions on the first debate?
Are you plugged in or are you on Wi-Fi?
Yeah, you're cutting in a little bit.
You cut in and out a little,
Oh,
a
yeah.
little bit.
I listened to the stream, and I mean, I took some notes, so I have some questions, but
Wait, I didn't hear the answer.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm on hardline, not Wi-Fi now.
Oh, okay.
So
I don't know.
okay, cool.
So was this the 6-person dog pile, or was this the 1v1 that you have notes on?
I listened to the 6v dog pile.
Okay, then
Yeah, I mean,
right.
well, let me say regarding everything you said there, I think I agree with you wholly in that one about the shadow banning stuff. So no disagreement on that.
Do you okay? Am I hallucinating that in the past half decade, a whole bunch of progressives and liberals were like, "You're not being shadow banned. You're just unpopular. Nobody likes you."
Yeah, no,
and
that 100% happened, and they are trying to gaslight people to pretending that didn't happen.
Okay, so dude, like I've been getting gaslit for like 96 fucking hours. So bear in mind, my like sense of reality is totally off at this point.
Okay, yes, that 100% happened. Yes.
Okay, so if I am understanding you, all of my Twitter arguments you don't have any problems with. And
shadow banning, no, nothing.
Okay.
I agree with all
right, cool. And then also, just to point this out for the audience who might not have paid attention, since the Twitter files got released, Twitter and people who are standing Twitter have gotten really fucking pedantic, where they're like, oh, well, in the Twitter terms of service, shadow ban means that you post something and nobody can see your tweets, and that never happened. Whereas my contention would be that conservatives were complaining about being algorithmically or moderatingly suppressed. They weren't complaining about literally posting something and only they can see it.
Right, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and I think the when you're arguing, people
I'm waiting for somebody to try to kick me in the dick right now. So if I seem
no,
jumpy,
not
that's
here.
why.
But not about that. But I think the argument to make, we're talking to people that are trying to be overly pedantic, is you can say, not just that it was happening, and people can quibble about whether we knew about it or not, but that no account could really officially determine whether it was happening to them. And then you couldn't do anything about it. There's no way you could ask Twitter, and they tell you there's no way to get Twitter to stop doing it to you. And I think even the most quibbly people would admit that that's not a fair system to exist under.
Well, but then they would jump to, well, Elon Musk owns it now, and he's doing the same thing. So is it better now that the right wing's in control?
Well, not if he's doing it to just left-wing accounts. Obviously not.
Right.
But Elon Musk did say that I don't know if he didn't do it, but he did say that he was going to release some kind of official tool where people could check whether they were shadow banned on Twitter or not. So
nice, based. Well, and that was my frustration, is I just felt like, all of the shit that I did say was not even allowed to be forwarded. And then all the shit that I didn't say was assigned to me, and then I just got the shit kicked out of me for an hour, which is partially my fault because I let myself get the shit kicked out of me, but whatever. All right, so then moving into the second conversation. So one of my argumentative mistakes in the first conversation was saying that it was all algorithmic, like that it's the robots that are doing this. Whereas that's not even like core to my argument. And I could just say like moderators could be doing this and that's not a big deal. I think the reason why I like autistically focused on algorithm stuff was because there was stuff in the Twitter files like, do not promote, or excuse me, do not amplify, search, blacklist, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, they're changing the code inside the algorithm to modify how people are viewed, which is why I got autistically focused on algorithmic. So I came back to kind of my editor. He corrected me and he said, listen, Twitter and YouTube, their algorithms are designed to promote what's popular as long as it has engagement. If they tried to mess with like who was the creator based off of political affiliation or engaging with controversial topics, they would screw up the popularity algorithm. Adam, do you have something to say?
No, I'm laughing at a picture of Wormy looking at this sweater.
Okay, fair. So basically he was saying like, don't rely on it being an algorithm, go back in there, explain it to them, explain your original perspectives. And then I have a 6-hour kick in the dick fest with pretty much every progressive on Twitch taking a shot at my dick and balls.
Mm-hmm. People really like to touch your dick and balls. I mean,
well, they're not touching it. If they were touching it, I wouldn't be complaining.
They're just definitely they're touching it with force. They're very excited to touch it. Okay,
that's my chief complaint. If they just wanted to touch my peener, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But they're just like grabbing a ball peen hammer and just smashing it against the table. So yeah.
It's 4 a.m. Time for the
Adam. You got questions, or do you want me to boringly walk through the second debate? Because I can do either one.
Well, I think the second debate is where I'm going to disagree with you, because I don't think I disagree with any of the first stuff you're talking about. So.
Okay. Then I would contend that in reference to the Hunter Biden story, I think the FBI sat on the laptop story. I think they gaslit social media. Well, this is all after reading Schellenberger, by the way.
Right.
I think what I said during it was, I think that the FBI and Twitter and the YouTube probably have an incestuous relationship, that they slow rolled the FBI investigation, and that they suppressed the story in order to assist Biden with the election. That was my contention.
That Twitter did or the FBI did?
Well, honestly, at this point, I pretty much know it's the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter actually, by all accounts, did their best.
Okay, wait. Are you saying that? Are you saying the FBI? Okay, you're saying the FBI slowed the investigation, like in terms of their own investigation, or slowed in terms of trying to get Twitter to suppress the story?
So my contention would be that FBI, and by the way, like you can fall back on like, it just takes a long time to do an investigation. I'll be like, okay, whatever. My contention would be that the FBI slow rolled the Hunter Biden investigation. Right. That's one action. Then the second action is they primed social media companies to believe that the Hunter Biden story was disinformation, so they could publicly discredit it in order to put their fingers on the scale for Joe Biden. That would be my theory. That I think is corroborative, even if you can't prove intent.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so the first claim, I mean, I'll be honest, I know very little about the FBI investigation into the laptop, with the exception that they had the laptop in 2019, right? So they had it for about a year before the election. What happened with that? Did they do anything with it?
No fucking idea.
I mean, they looked at it, but I don't remember ever hearing anything about what they did with it.
Yeah, no idea. But at the same time, like, if somebody, there's kind of like the fruits of the crime argument, where people are saying like, oh, well, this guy, turned in the FBI or turned in the laptop to the FBI and said, hey, there's a bunch of shady shit on there. And the FBI was like, yeah, whatever, bro. And then just took the fucking laptop. But I'm pretty sure that Giuliani was under investigation for since like April of 2019 or something like that. I'm pretty sure that we already knew that Hunter had rough dealings with Burisma. I'm pretty sure that the alleged tax fraud or just like failure to disclose funds was in 2014 for Hunter. I'm pretty sure that at that point, at least somewhere along that timeline of 2020, everybody kind of knew that Hunter was a piece of shit. So, at that point, like, what are we doing here, guys? Like, I get that we have serious shit to investigate, like, terrorism and narco cartels and all that kind of shit. But literally somebody is implying that the son of the presidential candidate is soliciting bribes from other people.
Right.
What the fuck are we doing?
There's a big difference between, like, if Hunter Biden is soliciting bribes for himself versus is Hunter Biden soliciting bribes and paying some to the president versus Hunter Biden not paying his taxes. Like, and so if at the end of this,
I would like to quote.
Well, I just want to say, if at the end of this all, if it's just like the FBI determined that Hunter Biden didn't pay his taxes, I mean, that's significant, but it's not really significant in terms of like a political scandal.
Yeah, it's kind of like Watergate, right? Where it's like
It's nothing like Watergate.
the cover up. No, okay, hold on. The cover up is worse than the original crime. Like apparently, like
Assuming there was
Nixon.
a cover up, which is your contention, right?
Sure, and we can get back to that.
Okay.
Just Nixon. Nixon apparently like wasn't even heavily involved in like the DNC burglary in the
I'm
first
sure he
place.
wasn't. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and basically it was like one of his chiefs of staff who took it upon him to do it, but Nixon like freaked out because he was trying to like micromanage everything all the time,
Right.
and so he like heavily involved himself in the cover up, even though he
Gotcha.
didn't have much to do with the original crime. So he kind of fucked himself that way.
Right.
I would say that this would be analogous where if Hunter Biden was later proven to not be soliciting bribes from foreign nationals, multi-billionaires, and all that kind of stuff. And, to quote a great creator, Adam Friended, who said that we don't know that the big guy is Joe Biden. For all we know, the big guy could be Hunter Biden's nose.
Yeah, it is Hunter Biden's nose. That's my theory.
That is an a very insightful comment. Where basically like we don't know whether or not he was at you would think that Joe Biden would be smart enough to be like, why do I need 200 grand for my jerk off drug addict son? Like I don't need that fucking money. I got political power, my bills are paid, who gives a shit? Whereas Hunter is basically selling bribery and influence and soliciting all that bullshit because he just wants to do coke and blow hookers and pretend do coke and blow hookers. He wants to do coke, bang hookers, and pretend that he's more important than he is.
Right. Okay. I mean, I don't want to. I'm not going to really contest the FBI speed of the investigation because I don't know. I don't really know a lot about it, and I honestly don't really care a lot about it. I think that the FBI should 100% investigate the claims of bribery, and if they don't, or if they cover it up, I think that's horrible and awful. So.
Okay. Then should we? So if I wanted to back off my so for instance, people were like, you're forwarding this as fact. And I'm like, no, this is my fucking opinion, inferenced based off of fact, based off of like my experiences with law enforcement and the politics of power and the military and all that kind of shit. They're acting like this is like a 19th century, mustache twirling villain, level of corruption or interference. And I don't think it's that at all. I think this is like normal Washington, D.C. elbow rubbing shit.
You seem to have said to me on Twitter, and from what I did hear, it seemed like you're pretty strong in the belief that the FBI did intentionally prime or confuse Twitter about specifically the Hunter Biden laptop story in order to get them to suppress it. And that's where I say I haven't seen any evidence of that really at all.
Okay, so let's walk through that then. So allegedly. In April of 2019, I believe, Rudy Giuliani became under investigation by the FBI for like some other criminal fucking shit that he was ultimately cleared of. So they were watching him and watching the Trump campaign, and I think they were watching him. They even admitted that they were watching him in the Trump campaign because they wanted to make sure there wasn't any Russian disinfo similar to 2016 that was like coordinated by anybody, right? So they
have to do with where we going with this.
Well, it's relevant because Giuliani has a copy of the laptop.
Yeah, but he got it late. Then he got it very late.
No, I'm pretty sure the laptop guy made a copy specifically because he felt like the FBI wasn't going to do shit with it.
Yeah, but I'm saying like it was. If I remember the timeline, the guy gives the laptop to the FBI in like 2019, and then after a year or longer, he feels like they're not doing anything, and then he gives it to Rudy. Right.
Okay. Does that make it any better or any worse? Like,
well, no, I don't know. I see. Are you saying that since the FBI is the claim that the FBI is monitoring Rudy, so then they would know when he gets the copy? Is that the claim?
Basically, is like they're saying like, oh, well, there's a hack and leak investigation, where people are trying to get information on Hunter Biden, which is the laptop that we're in fucking possession of. Like, so we kind of know whether or not Hunter Biden is a piece of shit. So as a result, we're going to do all this weird shit. Like, for instance, they gave temporary secret clearances to Roth or whatever in order to brief him on like Apartment 28, which is like a Russian hacking organization or some shit.
Well, hold on. We're jumping ahead too much. We got to take it in the correct sequence of events. Okay.
Okay. So, all right. So Rudy Giuliani has is given the laptop. If he was given to it basically immediately when the store owner gave it to the FBI, or if he gave it to him later when he thought the FBI wasn't doing anything, I don't think that's necessarily relevant to my argumentation. I think that the FBI, if they were monitoring Giuliani, and if the Trump campaign had more fucking Trump campaign, so many people fucking hate Trump that I can't believe that Trump and Giuliani wouldn't be bragging about the Hunter Biden laptop story to people who would then talk shit about it out loud. Like, do you have any problem with that logic?
I'm sorry, you said if Trump had the laptop,
Giuliani and Trump have the laptop. They know it's going to be their October surprise. They have it 1 month, 2 weeks, or 10 months before the October surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Can we believe that they would be able to keep that a secret from everybody outside of their king?
Yeah, I can believe that. Sure.
I can't. But...
Okay. I mean, I don't know how we would validate that. But
well, probably because Trump was bleeding administrators left, right, and center. Probably because there was but
it would be depend who he showed it to. If it was just if it was him, Rudy, his chief of staff, Ivanka, who's gonna leak it?
I don't know if we've watched the same man for a few years. Part of my theory is reliant on Trump being a bloviating, narcissistic, talkative, shit talking, hardcore asshole.
Okay, wait, here's the problem.
Part of my theory.
Okay, so according to... Now, this could be a lie because it's Snopes, and I don't really trust Snopes.
Mm-hmm.
According to Snopes, the timeline, according to the New York Post article, which I guess we could look up because that would be, the first source. According to this, they say the New York Post alleged that Rudy Giuliani, the personal attorney for President Donald Trump, gave them it says he gave... Who did he give it to? What the fuck is this writing? The Post reported that Rudy Giuliani, the personal attorney for U.S. President Donald Trump, gave them, who's them, a copy of the Hunter Biden laptop on October 11th.
So he gave it to the Post.
Oh, the New York Post. Okay, gotcha. Okay, but when did Rudy Giuliani get it? Because if he got it after the meeting that you're talking about, then that would weigh that out completely, right?
How so?
Well, no, because I thought your claim was that, so was it July, the FBI tells Twitter that, we have information to believe that there's going to be some Russian or foreign interference leak, right? And you're saying that was based upon...
that's logical based off of just it's going to happen every 4 years no matter what.
Right, exactly. But I thought you were making a stronger claim, which was that you thought that priming by the FBI was based on the fact that they knew Rudy had the laptop and were thus assuming that was going to happen, that he was going to leak the laptop.
So if you look at Yoel Roth's sworn statement, he basically says that we knew it was going to be Hunter Biden before it was leaked.
Well, hold on, we're jumping ahead. We have to go one piece at a time.
You lead me to the next step, brother.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to figure out I'm trying to find out where's the date where the guy gave Rudy the laptop.
I mean, Google it. I'm here to chill.
I'm trying to. When did Rudy Giuliani give
The animal says it's August 2020. I don't know if he's right, though.
Well, if that's true, that would be after when the FBI said what they said to Twitter, which was in July. So, okay. But I agree with what you said, which is that
would firm it up or
well, it would not firm it up. But as you said, which I agree with, it's not a stretch for the FBI to assume every 4 years is going to be some weird thing that happens in the election regarding, things being leaked or October surprises. So
sure.
Okay. Right. Okay. So we can move on from that part.
Okay. So yeah. So then actually I would be curious if this has now turned into a debunking stream. If you wanted to find the Yoel Roth affidavit, if there was a date attached to the Yoel Roth affidavit, he basically says they told me it was going to be Hunter Biden before we released.
Right. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I have it saved. I could pull it up.
If you have it saved, send me a link. I don't know, because the thing is, I've never seen the actual entire pleading. I've just seen the screenshot. So I don't know what the date is on that.
Sure.
Well, I mean, obviously that was... I'm not sure the date is going to matter because obviously the date was before the Hunter Biden laptop story.
And yet, during all of 2020, the FBI and other law enforcement agencies repeatedly primed Roth to dismiss reports on Hunter Biden's laptop as a Russian hack and leak operation. This is from a sworn declaration by Roth given in December of 2020. So this would have been after the events.
It was
So
after. Yeah,
since
but right. He doesn't say when the meeting was. No, he does say when the meeting was, doesn't he?
Well,
Says it was in
I'll just
summer?
read it real quick. Since 2018, I have had regular meetings with the Office of Director of National Intelligence, the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and industry peers regarding election security. During these weekly meetings, the federal law enforcement agencies communicated that they expected hack and leak operations by state actors that might occur period shortly before the 2020 presidential election, likely in October. I was told in these meetings that the intelligence community expected that individuals associated with political campaigns, which is a weird fucking thing to say, would be subject. Okay. Let me read that. I was told in these meetings that the intel community expected that individuals associated with political campaigns would be likely to be subject to hacking attacks, and that materials obtained through those hacking attacks would likely be disseminated over social media platforms, including Twitter. These expectations of hack and leak operations were discussed throughout 2020. I also learned in these meetings that there were rumors that the hack and leak operations would involve Hunter Biden.
Gotcha.
So he doesn't give a definitive timeline for when he
says
found out that it was Hunter
since
either.
2018, so presumably it's been for 2 years since then. So they've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, but he didn't say that he knew that it was going to be Hunter Biden since 2018.
Right,
he was
right.
just
Yeah,
saying throughout 2020,
sure. Gotcha.
Eventually at some point he knew that it was going to be Hunter.
Right.
So
here's my problem with like a lot of the claims being made around this is that this is the only piece of evidence I think that really even exists yet. And even then it's not conclusive. This is a piece of evidence that says, hey, we need to ask more questions about what exactly the FBI told, Roth about the Hunter Biden story and what exactly they said, and ask the FBI exactly.
And the timeline to see if they thought that it was going to be a hack and leak operation instead of Giuliani releasing it via laptop.
Right. Obviously. Yes.
Okay. So your contention is until we have that timeline, we can't assume that the FBI was acting in bad faith.
Well, it's not just the timeline, it's to know what exactly they said. Because in the same Twitter files, Schellenberg talks about how there was a private institution, the Aspen Institute, private organization, not connected to the government, and they ran simulations they ran simulations for social media companies to kind of work through, expecting an October surprise. And I guess the companies would kind of like have their people go in these simulations and kind of figure out how they were going to handle them. And the simulated hypothesis that the fake scenario they created for the October surprise was literally Hunter Biden Burisma leaks. and considering that like that was what the basis of the first impeachment was with Donald Trump was, him doing the Hunter Biden Burisma stuff. It's not really a stretch for people if a random private organization could figure this out, and the FBI is, looking at this, it's not a big stretch for them to assume that if there's going to be some kind of weird foreign leak, it would revolve around this Hunter Biden Burisma situation, right?
Yeah. Okay. So walk me through this then. Okay. So they have the laptop, right?
Well, no. Let me be clear to chat. So what I'm saying specifically is that the FBI could have these meetings, these regular meetings that they have with Twitter, and they could say, "Listen, we think that it's possible that come November or October, there's going to be some kind of hack or leak about Hunter Biden." They could say that, and that could have nothing to do with the laptop whatsoever, because it seemed like that was the thought process that was on everyone's mind.
So what? That Hunter Biden would just be randomly hacked?
No, that he would be hacked, and that there'd be something about he's getting paid off by Burisma or whatever.
Okay. Like I don't know how this changes anything. So just because it's probable that they could assume that it was going to be about Hunter Biden. How does this change whether or not they had evidence of actual wrongdoing?
Well, no, it changes. So it changes. Well, it depends what we were arguing, because what I'm arguing is I don't believe the FBI intentionally tried to get Twitter to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story. So I look at this and I don't see this as anywhere near conclusive evidence that the FBI is trying to prime Yoel Roth into suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop story. That the FBI could have legitimately believed, and would completely make sense that they would, based on the impeachment trial, based on that this was kind of what everyone was thinking about, that there would be a leak about Hunter Biden and Burisma.
This is something that I can't really wrap my head around. Why is the fucking FBI involved in suppressing news stories at all?
They shouldn't be.
So if let's say that like New York Post. 70% of it's true, 30% of it's bullshit, right? Why the fuck is the FBI talking to Twitter about pulling a New York Post story or a Times?
They
article?
weren't that we know of.
All right. I guess I'll fucking
That's what we're talking
find
about.
it. Literally like half a dozen of the top people at Twitter are like the top people from the FBI. They have a room where it's just FBI people. They do training for a Hunter leak. They tell him that it's going to be a hacking operation.
It's not it's not the training for the Hunter leak was not the government, was not the FBI. This was a private organization for random social media companies to train their employees to deal with the upcoming election.
Okay, so Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld used to work at Halliburton, but they were public employees at the time of the Iraq War when Halliburton run the contract. So what you're saying to me, if we were to analogize this back to the Iraq War, is Donald Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney are public employees. They're employed by the state. They're in the Bush White House. They have nothing to do with the private organization. And then if you look at the private organization, it's fucking Dick Cheney's and Donald Rumsfeld's former golf buddies. How is that not an obvious conflict of interest?
Of course, it's an obvious conflict of interest. That's the whole problem, is that and that was a big problem with the Iraq War, is that you say, okay, well, Halliburton's getting these no-bid contracts. Is that because Halliburton really deserves it? Or is it because of Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld, being buddy-buddy with those people?
And it's a little bit of A, a little bit of B. I have my own conspiracy theories about that.
Right, I'm sure it's a combination of, two.
Yeah, like Halliburton was actually competent and able to scale up to the operations they were doing, but part of the reason why they were able to do that is because they practiced nation building for 20 fucking years. So anyways,
sure.
That's
the problem, is that even if Halliburton literally was the only company that could do it, it's just the fact that there's that visual
mad
conflict of
shady.
interest. Yeah, just because there's that conflict of interest, it makes us say, oh, well, we don't trust it. It's the same thing with like Hunter Biden. It's, I don't think there's any evidence that Joe Biden fired Victor Shokin to protect his son. However, because of the way it looks, because of the fact that like just the optics of it, Hunter Biden should never have been there in the first place. And that was what they were kind of warning Biden about, before this situation erupted, saying, that's why they care about these
crackhead son to Ukraine to collect $50,000 a month for a fucking board position that he's not
right. Exactly. So, I agree. This is like, we've talked about like Jim Baker being the lawyer of FBI, does it look like a conflict of interest in this situation? Obviously, but it's not like they anticipated this, FBI entanglement story.
Yeah, can I ask you a question? So my issue with this is like I actually do have some level of moral objection to like Washington D.C. nepotism, where if you're born with the right fucking last name, you can just get like multi-million-dollar contracts to sit on dick and drink coffee. But a lot of people just come back to me, including Destiny, and they're like, "Well, it's legal, so who gives a fuck?" I do. I think it's fucked up. I think it's corruption by another name. So I understand it's not illegal at this point, but should our Secretary of State be creating a charitable organization while they're Secretary of State to get fucking foreign donations?
I have the same moral intuitions as you do. I'm against nepotism.
Okay, so then if I'm jumping ahead, feel free to walk me back to a previous position. But would it not stand to reason that if the FBI gave Twitter secret clearance in order to basically give them a specific briefing about a Russian hacking organization. I'm making a presumption here. I'll admit I'm making a presumption here. If they believe that Giuliani had the laptop because they were keeping tabs on Giuliani, which I know I can't prove, but I think is reasonable to believe or to at least suspect.
If he got it afterwards, it doesn't really matter.
Go ahead and explain that. If he got it afterwards, it doesn't really matter. So please.
The meeting that people are pointing to, where they say, "Oh, this is the FBI priming, Twitter to."
You're saying that if the meeting was before
when Rudy
Giuliani got the laptop, then they wouldn't have been able to foreshadow that.
Right. So if the claim is that, which I thought was a claim, was that Rudy gets the laptop, the FBI is spying on Rudy. The FBI says, "Oh, Rudy has a laptop. He's going to leak it. So we better concoct this weird story to trick Twitter into suppressing it." But if the FBI had that meeting with Twitter, the supposed meeting where they supposedly tricked Twitter, if that happened before Rudy even got the laptop, then that doesn't work, right?
So based off of I'm basing that off of Roth's affidavit. Do you have so that includes like all of 2020? So we actually have no fucking idea when he got the apartment 28 briefing based off of the things that I read.
I'm trying to because it was there was
do you
both,
have a firm date?
right? It was I'm trying to remember because it was in the Twitter files. I don't remember where exactly because it was in the Twitter files, and then also it corroborates with what Mark Zuckerberg said. They both Facebook and Twitter said they had this meeting in July about the possibility of leaked election stuff. So that's what I'm working off of. I
In
don't
late
remember
July.
exactly
So
what it says,
you're
no.
saying Zuck said it was late July?
I believe he did, yeah. But that's still
Okay.
Facebook. I believe there was, and I could be wrong, someone has it. I could have swore in one of the Twitter files they had a similar date. They said in July or something.
And then you're saying Giuliani got the laptop in August.
Yeah.
So if
Assuming
I'm
that
understanding
timeline's all
you,
accurate.
okay, so if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying that FBI gets a laptop, right? They get the laptop
They
from
get
the
in
guy.
2019, a long time
Yep.
ago. Right.
Yeah, and then the guy makes a copy. He doesn't tell anybody because he's hoping that it'll work out, right?
Right.
FBI will do their job.
Yep.
It'll work out in an expeditious manner. Fuck Hunter Biden. He's banging whores, smoking crack, and soliciting bribes. He doesn't necessarily, we don't even know what he knows, right? Because we don't know how deep he looked into the laptop. He just saw some shady shit, backed out, called the FBI, right?
Right.
But he's like, this is shady and I don't want it to get buried. So I'm going to make a copy. If the FBI does their job, I'll let them do their job. If they don't do their job, then I'm going to I might give this to Republicans because frankly, I want to see these people held accountable.
Mm-hmm.
So then up until that point, you're saying that the FBI and the private institutions, just because the 2016 stuff partially was about like Burisma and Hunter's nepotism and corruption and all that kind of stuff, that they do role plays based off of that on inference. They just think like there's a high likelihood that it's going to be similar shit to this.
Right. So like, well, just imagine this way.
I'm not saying it's stupid. It's actually pretty fucking smart. I'm just asking you if that's what you're saying.
That is what I'm saying. And it makes sense because like if you're gonna create like an exercise for people to run through, and say you're gonna create one that's like an anti-Republican one, an anti-Democrat one. For the anti-Republican one, obviously you would say, okay, it's gonna be new information comes out that Trump colluded with Russia, right? Because that's what people were talking about. That would be like the hypothetical narrative. And then if you're gonna create the anti-Democrat one, you're going to say, well, what are the Republicans talking about? Well, there was the first impeachment that just happened, the previous year. And it's about, Hunter Biden and the Burisma.
Okay.
And if you actually look
so let's just run it that way. Yeah.
If you look at the, if you look in the Schellenberg Twitter files where he talks about that hypothetical camp breakdown thing, if you actually read through the timeline that the camp created, it's incredibly accurate in how it depicts like the Democrats downplaying it and the Republicans upplaying it. And so it seems to be like very neutral in how that Aspen Institute at least constructed this concept. It doesn't seem to be politically biased. And the problem that I have kind of with that camp thing, and I don't know if Schellenberg doesn't have this or whatever, is that it only shows you how they constructed this hypothetical timeline of people reacting to it, which is, again, as I said, entirely accurate, I think. It doesn't show you what they suggested or even if they suggested the solution was. Didn't say like, oh, it's a solution. You should downplay the Hunter Biden story or what? Because what if it says the opposite? So then that would kind of be evidence against it.
What? You're supposed to amplify it? What?
Or you're supposed to say, well, it's not Twitter's job. And this is my position. It's not Twitter's job to verify news stories.
No, it's not.
Yeah, so I don't think to me.
Fuck on that.
Right. So for me, this whole thing my position is I think Twitter I think the people that are running Twitter, obviously ideologically biased, especially before Elon Musk came into power. And I think if you look at the Twitter files, it looks to me like you had a bunch of people who are Democrats, don't like Trump, who are kind of trying to justify to themselves any possible reason, essentially to lie to themselves or trick themselves into getting rid of the Hunter Biden laptop story. And I think it was entirely on their own. I don't think the FBI had anything to do with this. I think it was just partisan Twitter employees. And that my position is that Twitter should not be ever in the business of trying to fact check a news story. That's not their job. They're a platform. if New York Times and the Washington Post and the New York Post all want to fight with each other about what's real, what's true, leave that to them. They're journalists in finger quotes. That's their job. It's not Twitter's job to do that.
There's a minor contradiction here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually think the Twitter files, like the straight civilian Twitter files or whatever, actually acquitted themselves pretty well in like the Slacker DMs. Like I feel like they were like, hey, I don't like this motherfucker, but they didn't violate TOS, right? Like I actually see that a lot in their Slacker DMs.
I agree with you in terms of like banning specific accounts. You're talking about, well, see, to me, that's
I'm
not
talking
a
about like libs
contradiction.
of TikTok or whatever. No,
But
I'm saying I think they did a good job. I think they did a good
but
job.
to me, that's not a contradiction. To me, that even further justifies what
that
I'm
wasn't
saying.
going to be my that wasn't. Oh,
okay, but well, let me just interrupt for 1 second, which is that because
Sure.
we do see instances of Twitter, of the FBI saying like, "Oh, Twitter, you should ban this account." Twitter's like, "We're not doing that." So that it's not like Twitter just automatically acquiesces.
I don't think Twitter acted in bad faith at all.
Right.
So, or at least based off of available evidence, I don't think Twitter acted in bad faith based off of the Schellenberger releases.
No, dude, even with the suppressing of Hunter Biden laptops.
I feel bad for Roth. Like, I feel like Roth is the fucking fall guy for all of this bullshit, and it's because he was like acting. He's like, I'm a progressive. I'm a Democrat. I'm trying to balance speech. I'm trying to balance our personal values. I'm trying to balance, our relationships with security industry and with like, I don't envy his fucking position at all.
Right.
Like, I think his position was almost impossible. And what was it? But what you actually see in, I think the Schellenberger releases is you see Roth fighting with I forget his name. It's like Baker or something like that. But this was like the general counsel for the fucking FBI like 2 years previous, who like oversaw half a dozen fucking like like Hillary Clinton's investigation and like all this crazy shit.
Yes.
And he's like, hey, this is like clearly like hacked materials. Like we got to ban this shit. And it's like, and the other two people are like,
well, he didn't
I don't
really say that though.
Do I need to look at it again?
You do. You should look at it.
Okay, so what is your opinion of Schellenberger? Okay. Like, do you just think he's a lying asshole?
I don't. Well, okay, I'll tell you my opinion.
But I'll say propagandist.
If you look at the Baker thing, what he says is there's evidence to support either that it was hacked and also that it wasn't hacked, that was abandoned and gotten legally. And then he says that he would then justify erring on the side of caution, which, first of all, if you're talking to a lawyer, that's basically what every lawyer in the reality is going to ever tell you, to just err on the side of caution. But as I said, to me, it's more a systemic problem in terms of why does Twitter think it's their role to even fact check any of this stuff? Like
agree. We're going to agree on this kind of shit.
But see, to me, that's where the failing is. It's not necessarily in anything else. It's, if the New York Post says that they got it legally, well, okay, the New York Post says they got it legally, and Twitter should just abide by that. Yeah.
If you wanted to macro this, so like I feel like I can make insinuations, right? Or I can have my personal beliefs about the motivations of people involved, where I can say like the FBI and Trump were beefing. The Mueller investigation put a lot of bad blood between the two organizations. There's clearly an incestuous relationship between these two people. There's a half dozen to a dozen FBI employees in the upper echelons of Twitter. As a result, I think that they would be sympathetic to the FBI to the point that they would push Twitter to do shit that's in violation of like a free speech platform. Not that they have to be free speech, right? But in a platform's interest, right? They would prioritize like the security interest of the FBI over the free speech interest of the American people. Like so that I would just assume that basically. And then when it comes to Twitter, there are a bunch of like progressives and libs and all that kind of shit. So the libs want to, let shit fly as much as possible. But then the progressives are always like, well, we have to look after the truth and we have to protect the minorities and all that kind of shit. So they're acting within their moral framework. And so like, I don't think that there's anybody like evil in this scenario.
Right.
I just think that there's a lot of aligned interest that goes against Trump. And by the way, I fucking hate Trump. Hate Trump like a motherfucker. That was the stupidest shit in the debate where like Destiny's like, get Trump's dick out of your ear. I was like, I haven't had Trump's dick in my ear since 2015. Where the fuck have you been, bro? So anyways, but there's so much aligned interest in incestuous relationships and all that kind of stuff. Nobody macroed out and asked, is it the FBI's job to go to social media platforms and try to push for legally protected speech under the First Amendment to be removed from social media platforms. Is that a part of their job or their purview?
Right.
And then it seems like Twitter never asked themselves, specifically in reference to Hunter Biden, if this story is true, even if it's obtained by hacked materials, which I know we have a policy against, but like if it's true, why are we banning the New York Post and the New York Times?
Right.
Or suspending them or slowing it down? Because you're doing two things simultaneously, which we can just ascribe to consequentialism. One, you're spreading doubt about the story's veracity because you've basically suppressed it, said it could be unfaulty, whatever, which could be potentially responsible. But then two, you're undermining the authority of these institutions themselves in order to do their own research. So you're basically saying, I will only permit news to flow on my website as long as I trust it and as long as it doesn't hurt the FBI, which is a fucking weird precedent to set.
Right. So I agree with you in terms of, I don't think there was anyone who was like a mustache twirling villain who was like, yes, I'm going to do this evil thing. I think everyone either honestly or by deluding themselves thought that they were, doing the right thing and that they thought they were acting, out of truth. Now, obviously that doesn't justify or validate what anyone's doing because people, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So that's the first part. The second part is, from what I saw of the Twitter files, and if someone saw otherwise or you saw otherwise, let me know. Whenever we saw the FBI or the government specifically asking for Twitter to remove something, which people can say that they shouldn't be doing in the first place, which is fine, but I feel like that's a slightly different conversation. The only evidence or the only examples I saw of the government asking for Twitter to remove things was specifically things relating to what they considered COVID misinformation or what they consider to be things about misinformation in how or where or when to vote. So I didn't even see them asking for like Trump won the election voter, fraud claims to be removed, but specifically like people, they're kind of like Matt Taibbi's talking about how there are people making jokes about voting on Wednesday instead of Tuesday. And the government was like, you should get rid of stuff like that. And that seemed to be the two subject matters that I saw from the Twitter files were the only things the government was asking Twitter to remove. I never saw them ask for Twitter to remove anything relating to the Hunter Biden laptop or anything related to, those kinds of quote unquote misinformation stories.
Do you agree that like it would be so that's my thing. This is where
if they did, I would say that's totally fucked up in a massive scandal.
No. This is where I get conspiratorial though.
Right.
If you were going to have like an option between two bosses, right? Like it's either Biden or Trump. One of these people is going to fucking win. We don't know what's going to happen. Nobody thought that Trump was going to win in 2016. He ended up winning. Biden, we don't know whether or not he's going to win. He's a geriatric fuck with fucking soup for brains. And we basically have to like keep him hopped up on drugs in order to make coherent sentences, right? Nobody knows how this shit is going to turn out. So for me, you as an FBI agent or as a member of the FBI, you would never send a slacker, teleporter, whatever fucking DM shit that they're using. You would never send a message saying, hey, I think this Biden story is bad. I think you need to suppress it or whatever. You would just do all of the other shit that they did.
Why would you not?
Why would you not? Because it has nothing to fucking do with you. What the fuck are you doing?
You wouldn't say to suppress it.
What would you say?
You would say, we have reason to believe that this story comes from hacked materials and or contains, foreign disinformation. And you wouldn't tell them what to do with it, but you would give them like what they want to hear, right?
Okay,
but let me just finish. Part of why I don't believe this happened was because in the Twitter files we can look and we see all the Twitter employees kind of arguing back and forth about whether to suppress the story. I personally believe they all wanted to suppress the story because they're all Democrats. And to me, if there was a justification, if the FBI, who they would say is a valid source of information, if they told someone on Twitter that they believe the laptop was hacked or foreign disinformation, that would literally be the perfect thing for the Twitter employees to hold up and say, aha, we can justify suppressing the story because the FBI told us this. It would be the easiest thing for them to pass.
But that's actually where this is the funny thing. Like we're looking at the same thing and you're saying like, this would be so easy. And for me, this is the exact reason why you wouldn't do it. It's because like the FBI doesn't want to have their fucking fingerprints on it, right? They don't want to be accused of putting their fingers, their fingers on the fucking election. They don't want to be accused of being tipped on the scale. So one of the complaints from the internal employees is like, hey, we've been asking like, DNI and FBI and DHS and all that kind of stuff, like about the veracity of this, and they're not giving us shit. Like they're not telling us anything. And so for me, like that's where to me it's like the FBI
Wait, that was in the
doesn't want to
Twitter
be.
files? I missed that.
I'm like 95, 99% sure that we could find that if we really buckled down and looked for it. But basically, like, I'm pretty sure that it was they're looking at the thing. They're looking for the government to say like yay or nay, and the government's just not giving them shit. And
yeah,
so,
but that proves my theory though, doesn't it?
why?
Well, if the government wanted
They
them,
don't want to have their fingerprints on it. Why would they want their fingerprints on it?
Well, yeah, but then so they're gonna have this like 10-dimensional chest. We're just gonna try to subtly mind control, put all these little hints out for you, and then throw our hands up in the air.
I don't think that's 10D chess at all. I think that's like moving a horse, like a horse piece on a chessboard. Like,
yeah,
I don't even think.
Well, here's the problem. So essentially, you're saying we have two potential scenarios. One potential scenario where the FBI intentionally wants them to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story. So they tell them all this kind of vague things about potential misinformation, leaks, hacking, blah, blah, blah.
I think it was pretty specific. It was like, it's going to be Hunter Biden. It's going to come out in October.
Right.
Like,
they tell them, yes,
they
tell them
materials. It's
they kind of tell them.
Well,
they tell them a combination. We'll say they tell them
Institute are going to let you do a war game about it. It's all pretty specific.
The Aspen Institute has nothing to do with the government, so we'll remove that entirely.
Hold on. You conceded on my fucking my Donald Rumsfeld, Dick Cheney, Halliburton versus fucking.
Do people wait? Yeah, in terms of Jim Baker working at Twitter, or people that work at the Aspen Institute, like FBI people, I'm not aware.
Do we want to start looking? Because I'm pretty sure
if that's the accusation you're going to make,
rubbing some fucking elbows.
You have to look and see who works there.
Man, listen. This is the thing. Like, you don't have to take my fucking word for it. I'm acting on fucking intuition, right?
Sure.
The point is that you fuck with people who fuck with you, right? It's nepotism. It's friends. Oh, the reason.
Okay. Well. Okay. Hold on. We're getting off track. Let me finish what I was saying. Okay.
Okay.
Which is that we have two scenarios. Okay. We have scenario A, which is that the FBI intentionally wants to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story because they don't want Donald Trump to win the election, blah, 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 blah. And so they, by combination of vague posting or vague meeting telling Twitter, hey, we believe there's going to be some kind of foreign hack, leak, interference, blah, blah, blah. And we also think more specifically that it maybe has something to do with Hunter Biden and Burisma. That's scenario A. And so they tell them that information so that when the Hunter Biden story does come out, that they will then suppress it, even though Twitter specifically asked the FBI, supposedly, hey, is the Hunter Biden laptop story true or not? And they say, radio silence.
No comment.
Respond. No comment, right?
Yeah. So,
okay, that's scenario A. Well, wait, hold on. That's scenario A. Scenario B is the FBI honestly thought that there was going to be foreign interference and some kind of foreign hacked leak thing, which, as I thought you said in the beginning, isn't really a big stretch. They presumably think this is going to happen every 4 years, and that in those course of those meetings, they were, saying, oh, there's going to be these hacks, there's going to be these potential leaks, and we think that some of those things might be related to Hunter and Burisma, and the FBI honestly thinks that's going to happen. They're not intending for this to have anything to do with the Hunter Biden laptop story, and then the Hunter Biden laptop story, which has nothing to do with what the FBI was intending, ends up getting released in October. And then Twitter makes the decision that they do. Okay. This is scenario A and scenario B. And my problem is that you're saying, let me just finish. You're saying that you believe scenario A, and I'm saying I believe scenario B until I have evidence that proves to me that there's some intention from the FBI acting here. And that's what I want. I want the evidence of intention.
Sure. And I'm saying that evidence is going to be very difficult to come by. But one of the things that I think Schellenberger, maybe I'm being gaslit by everybody. Maybe I'm being gaslit by fucking lefties and righties.
I think Schellenberger is gaslighting a little bit.
Yeah, he's doing a great fucking job. So Schellenberger. So when it comes to Schellenberger, one of the things that he pointed to, which I'll admit is not like a comprehensive analysis of all the intelligence that the FBI and CIA has received over the past fucking like year or something like that.
Right.
But one of the things that he pointed to, which I thought was interesting, was the fact that like basically what was it? Fucking that the FBI and the DHS are like calling Twitter and Facebook and they're like, hey, you got any evidence of foreign interference? And like Twitter's like, nah, it's been pretty chill over here, bro. And then they just like call back like 30 minutes later and they're like, what about now? It's like an over and over and over
Right,
again.
right.
They're looking for some evidence. Now, maybe Schellenberger is just gaslighting the fuck out of me. It's entirely possible. The insinuation that I read into that was the fact that the FBI, they were looking for the corroborative evidence to point back to say we had chatter on the wire that it was going to be Hunter and whatever. So actually, based off of this, so, you know, I'm an investigator. I'm like Sherlock Holmes in this motherfucker, right? I'm like fucking gigabrain, 10D chess, fucking 160 IQ, all right? So what I would tell the FBI if I was conducting an inquiry over to whether or not there was any level of impropriety in reference to this election, which, by the way, I don't think is going to fucking come out, because even if there was, they'd just fucking be like, all right, don't do it again. Is I would literally be like, all right, what was the chatter? What was the primary or secondary evidence that you had that it was going to be Hunter Biden?
Right.
And if they're just like, we figured it the fuck out on our own, we just hypothesized it, I'd be like, you shady ass motherfuckers, I'm gonna keep an eye on you. So like that to me is like trust but verify, I guess. I distrust but verify. Like,
right.
Fuck these shady motherfuckers.
Well, we learned from the Mueller investigation that the FBI often, you know, opens investigations or acts based on vague information. So that really shouldn't surprise us.
That they're acting off of like fucking what is it, like shitpost Groiper Chris Snap 1488.
Not quite that bad. Yeah, not quite.
It's going to be the Hunter Biden story,
right? Like, well, and here's the thing, and here's my position on this: is like, so I think what the Twitter files shows is that there definitely merits an investigation into FBI and into Twitter to get to the more specifics. Get, like, you know, I want to know specifically what the FBI told, you know, Yoel Roth. I want to know specifically what they told him at these meetings. I'm totally on board with investigating all that stuff. And I don't know exactly what the Republicans' power will be if they control the House, but maybe they'll be able to, you know, forward investigations onto this. Now, of course, obviously, the Democrats on the left will whine endlessly saying that this is a fishing expedition or that it's not merited, blah, 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 blah. And they're all, you know, partisan hacks. What I don't think this shows, so that's what I'm saying. I think all Twitter files show so far is that, yes, there merits investigation to look at it further. Does it show anywhere near conclusive proof of the shit that people are claiming it proves, that Twitter was acting as an arm of the FBI, that the FBI was trying to trick Twitter into doing those things? I say no. There's really no conclusive evidence.
This is
that,
actually,
you know,
this is actually what I think. This is what I think Destiny's rhetorical mistake was.
Oh, but wait, let me just say one more thing too, is that part of what annoys me about the Twitter files is that when it comes to Matt Taibbi, who I used to like, and Schellenberger, who I'm not really familiar with, they'll like, the thing that annoys me is that they'll write a tweet that's very incendiary. Like, as you were saying, like, they'll say like,
but
the FBI
documentation
did this.
is not half as good as the fucking
it's like this crazy accusation. And you're like, oh my God. And then you like click on the picture and you read it and you're like, oh, that's not what they said. Like, it's like way more hyperbolic than what the picture is showing. So yeah, it's kind of
been
like
bought off by a billionaire.
Well, no, it's just like, they're journalists. They're trying to hype up their story because it's going to help them, obviously, in their career. And it's interesting and somewhat hypocritical to me because the claim is, oh, the FBI was priming Twitter to believe X, when I feel like the journalists are priming the reader to believe X by the way that they're hyping up, you know, the story.
Well, so this is actually interesting. So my theory, I think, is backed up by a very fundamental fact. Is this is a fucking den of violence. These are fucking manipulative, propagandistic fucks. And I was going to say, one of Destiny's like mistakes in that conversation is assuming that because I'm criticizing the FBI or Twitter for their incestuous relationship and all that kind of stuff, that I'm a Trump simp, that I that I want, you know, I want the FBI to be proven as like incomprehensibly corrupt so I can, you know, back up the right wing, but I don't. if anything, like part of the reason why I don't give the reason why I think the FBI wouldn't give a fuck about Hunter Biden is because I guarantee you that the fucking Trump kids are soliciting bribes for fucking donos and banging hookers on the side and all that kind of shit. I'm sure they're selling influence and all that fucking
I mean,
garbage, but
those
they just don't leave their fucking computers in a repair store in fucking Nebraska, you know? So that's where for me, like one of the things that Destiny said was like, I think this would be one of the biggest political scandals in American history. And to me, I'm like, I don't even think this is scratches fucking top 20. I think this is like fucking normal ass everyday bullshit.
What is he referring to specifically? Because I think if the FBI
he's saying if he
knowingly got, they know that the laptop is legitimate, presumably because they've had it for a year. It shouldn't be that difficult to figure out. Or they know maybe not legitimate, but they know that it wasn't hacked, that they got it from this guy. And they should know that guy got it from a legitimate source. If the FBI then turned around and lied to Twitter to try to get them to suppress the story, I think that would be one of the biggest political scandals of all time, because that would be clear evidence of the FBI trying to put their finger on the scale of a presidential election.
See, for me, like I could bring up the fucking Watergate. I could bring up Iran-Contra. I could bring up the USS Maine. I could bring up what is it?
These are also big scandals. I'm not going to disagree.
Okay, yeah, it'd bring up like Lincoln, basically like blocking people from getting into the Republican primary and then flooding the primary with his like people. I could talk about J. Edgar Hoover spying on Martin Luther King and telling him to fucking kill himself.
All stuff you have evidence for.
Well, true.
Yeah, exactly.
But if I look back across like 400 years of American history and I see it, like including like recent history, by the way, like the CIA torture program, the drone program.
So you don't think this would be a big deal? Because I completely disagree.
No, I think it would be a big deal. I just think like a bigger deal is like, trying to look for evidence to post hoc rationalize a invasion of a country that had nothing to do with a terrorist attack. I think that's bigger.
Well,
so for instance, this is a direct quote. There's this book called Henry Crumpton, The Art of Intelligence. I love this book so fucking much. So he goes in immediately after the USS Cole, prior to 9/11, and he basically he tells Donald Rumsfeld in a briefing, hey, Al Qaeda's serious. They're going to do something fucked up. They're going to kill more Americans. It's a big deal. We have to start paying attention to it. And Donald Rumsfeld tells him, come back when you can tie it to Iraq. Right. So basically what Donald Rumsfeld is doing is he's looking for any fucking pretext that he can to go after the Mujahideen in order to justify the invasion of Iraq. And this is like pre 9/11. So to me, like being like, hey, my golf buddy doesn't like Trump. Fuck him in his stupid ass. We'll investigate the Biden laptop slowly, and then we'll give some briefings to Twitter CEOs in order to get them to think that it's a hack and leak. But realistically, it's actually just going to be a copy that we know Giuliani is going to leak. That to me is like, this is fucking kids play for these kinds of motherfuckers.
Well, okay. I understand exactly what you're saying. And I understand why, like how you come to that conclusion. Because, especially like you look at like the Iraq war, like, people died, thousands of people died. It's not like, this. No one presumably died from this.
Adam's having way too good of a time for this fucking conversation, bro. He's just over there with his fucking cocaine mustache.
What are you talking about? Look, I'm
he's smiling.
He's just smiling with his little cat sweater.
What do we got? I mean, when do we get to the fireworks?
But I think this is
I think
what you raised.
Listen, we could have gotten fireworks. Sitch could have called me a retard the first fucking 10 seconds I got on stream, and then I would have just screamed at him. If you guys
I don't have to call you a retard. I just assume you're a retard. But I'm just kidding. I love you, Connor. But what I was gonna say is, what you brought is an interesting question. I think it's important because it's a psychological question, and I think it's kind of like, if you remember when Donald Trump was running for president. I just talked about this yesterday. When Donald Trump was running for president, and it came out that he said, you can grab him by the pussy, right? And everyone's like, oh my God, he said grab him by the pussy. His presidential campaign's over. Like everyone's like, this is the biggest fucking deal ever. And it turned out no one gave a shit. Right. And then it's kind of like, and before that, we were talking about like, how with Michael Dukakis, he put on that stupid helmet like that, sunk his presidential campaign. when
Right.
Dean, yelled too loudly. Yeah.
Which, bro, like that is so chill compared to
Right,
modern
exactly. Yeah,
politics.
it's like that's not his presidential
Like, bro,
campaign.
you should have turned that into a meme. You would have been fucking fire.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly. And I don't, yeah, exactly. And I don't know if you remember, like, I think it was Al Gore, like, he made out with his wife too hard or something. And people were like, oh my God, he kissed his wife too hard on stage. And people
and
were like,
like
forget.
you could
Like,
should have turned that into a meme too. Like, nice,
right. So we have like these weird
nice.
psychological hookups about things that bother us or don't bother us. And a perfect example of
Mm-hmm.
that is with me is January 6th, is that, everyone focuses on the actual people physically breaking into the Capitol, which to
Mm-hmm.
me is not act is the least important part of that.
It's
Because,
the lies that got them there in the first place.
well, not even that. It's that, so them breaking into the Capitol to me is not important because in my mind there's no way that them doing that action would actually have some material effect on the world. It's not going to actually, make Donald Trump be the president.
Yeah.
But what could make Donald Trump be the president would be if Pence threw out the vote because Donald Trump is pressuring him, or
Mm-hmm.
if Trump put whatever the environmental lawyer as the attorney general, who then would mail out those letters basically telling the states to throw out their electors and just vote for Donald Trump. Like, to me, those actions are so much more egregious. But when you ask the average person, they don't care about that. And they don't care about that because there's a visual image of a bunch of crazy people breaking into the Capitol. And that visual image creates this psychological effect on people's minds and gets them ramped up emotionally, even if it doesn't logically make sense. And so the
Well,
reason I'm
so
bringing this
yeah, yeah.
up is relating to
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying is like, there is an expectation. It's horrible, but there's this expectation psychologically in our minds that the president and that his administration are going to be political animals who are going to essentially lie and do political things. And I think that's why when you look at like, oh, the people lying about getting us into Iraq, it's like there's already a level of acceptance of like, of course that's what they're going to do. And so people kind of accept, people complain about it, but they still accept it on some level. Where with the FBI, even if this is a foolish notion, people have this idea that the FBI and the CIA and all these organizations are supposed to be politically neutral organizations that are just about law enforcement. And
I
if
don't
that
think you
these
can be.
organizations are putting their finger on the scale of something so important like the passing of power in our country, that's a big fucking deal. And so I think people
I
would
don't
think
think
it's
you
a big
can
deal if this
be.
happened.
I don't think you can be neutral. So for
Well,
instance,
whether you
like
can be or not doesn't matter. I'm talking about the people perceive the institution itself as neutral.
yeah, I'm saying this was part of what Supreme said that I just like flat out fucking rejected. He was like, yeah, bro, like, analysts and shit, they just do their jobs and go home, bro. They don't care about the broader implications of their jobs. And I was like, nah, like fucking nah. Like what we're talking about is we're talking about a bunch of young men and women who took a 4-year degree, studied
Mm-hmm.
something that would be interesting to the FBI, held up their hand, swore an oath to protect, the enemy, protect America against the enemies, both domestic and foreign. I think they invert the oath when you're a fucking domestic law enforcement agent. And they took that oath, and there is a pseudo legitimate threat to the Republic. And you can fucking say I got TDS or whatever the fuck. But I think that Trump, for a long time, has made jokes about remaining in power, even if the election didn't go through the way that he wanted to do. I think he's talked about, made jokes about like, I want to stay in power forever, fucking 22, 24, 28, fucking 32, all that kind of bullshit. I think that January 6th and his refusal to accept the elections shows that he wasn't fucking joking. He was being goddamn serious. And he had a 2-year institutional war with both the CIA and the fucking FBI because he was saying, hey, CIA and military, we're going to yank you out of these fucking places that you've been doing operations for the past fucking half decade or decade because I don't like foreign wars. Pack up your shit, go home. We already know that people in the fucking DOD lied about troop levels inside, these areas of operation and basically slow rolled the withdrawal against Trump's wishes. We also know that high level cabinet members said things like, there's adults in the room, or we're running an adult daycare, or
Right.
General fucking Mattis's letter saying that Trump's a fucking piece of shit. So I don't know how you have like the most bloviating, loud, asshole, toddler fucking morality dickhead in the presidential office saying he's going to stay forever. And you're like, oh, I'm sworn to defend this republic, and I'm not going to do shit about fucking Trump's election campaign. Like these two ideas just don't mesh for me.
Oh no, I think I agree with everything you're saying. I don't think any of these people are necessarily, well, I think people can be, I think some people in these positions can be politically neutral, or as politically neutral as possible.
Or try.
And then Trump could be a whole nother animal. You know, it could have nothing to do with politics. It could just be the way that he's acting is freaking all these people out. And part of the issue, I think, is that people have kind of heard Scott Adams say this, and I think he's way off on this one. People kind of perceive like our intelligence agencies are like the top of the information hierarchy, and then they like feed information down to journalists, and then journalists feed information down to everyone else. When there was an interesting thing in the Twitter files, which you mentioned, where the FBI, you know, they say, hey, Twitter, we're worried about foreign interference happening on Twitter. And then Twitter says, well, we checked our files and we don't see anything. And what does the FBI do? They say, yeah, but what about this Washington Post article?
Right.
There's a Washington Post article that says there's some kind of foreign interference in Twitter. And I was like, that's fucking weird. The FBI is using the Washington Post as like some sort of
they're Googling shit like everybody
like
else.
What the fuck is happening? And I think the scary truth is that, you know, the intelligence agencies are not above, and the people that work there are just human beings that are just as capable of falling for the fake news shit as anyone else in the world. And I think a lot of them did fall for a lot of the fake news stuff. So no, I agree. I think that these people are, you know, definitely able to be swayed by politics. My only point was that why I think this would be a big news story is that the perception is that these institutions are neutral, or at least supposed to be neutral. And if it turns out that they were monkeying with an election, I think that's a massive fucking scandal, because that's like basically validating a lot of people's worst fears about, you know, the intelligence state and the deep state and all this stuff.
Well, so if we were, what I've loved about this conversation, despite Adam being like, fucking kill each other, rip each other's heads off, like fucking the point is that you entertained my hypothesis. You looked at my supporting evidence. You said, hey, Connor, I respect you as an intellectual person, despite the fact that you're a fucking retard. Here's my supporting evidence. Here's something that I don't think that you considered about your supporting evidence. I have an alternative hypothesis. Do you think my hypothesis is more possible than yours? And to which I would say, I'm a little emotional after 96 hours of getting my fucking dick kicked in. So I'll take it under advisement, review it. And also I'll be looking for, as I'm reading the upcoming Twitter files, I'm going to be looking for that slant where there's literally like the statement, then there's supporting evidence, and the supporting evidence and the statement don't match. Right. Or it's exaggerated. Right. So I'll be doing that.
Priming you.
So I guess he's priming me to think that everything's worse than it is, and by that I mean Schellenberger, and then you're priming me to believe that everything's not as bad as it is.
Well, I have the exact same view you do. I distrust and verify, and so I always look at the source material and I say, well, it doesn't really say. At least I don't see it saying what they're saying.
Right. So anyway, so what I was going to say is probably where we could land on solid ground if we were actually adults who were interested in a productive conversation, although we can move into Adam's questions in a minute. Basically, like and if we want to shitpost a meme, we can at any point. My frustration with that conversation was I was like, hey, I'm a pretty serious person, got a decade of security experience. I've seen nepotism take over institutions, and I've seen corruption and aligned interest firsthand. I've also seen very serious things, like research them and all that kind of shit. And they called me like a fucking hall monitor, flat earther, conspiracy theorist fucking retard.
Right.
And I thought, you know, against my better judgment, I thought that my rapport with Destiny was better, that we could have an adult conversation about these subjects. Although, of course, he's a debate pro and he's got to get his fucking blood sports shots in, right?
Right.
And I think I was just the whipping boy for all conservatives. And then with Supreme, I actually had a lot of respect for Supreme prior to this engagement. Maybe we can, you know, build the bridge back or whatever. But I just felt like while I'm getting fucking kicked, he's just getting some fucking shots in. And it's like, bro, like, We've had chill conversations before. I think you're smart. I used to think that you thought that I was smart, but you're treating me like a fucking sub 80 IQ fucking retard. I'm gonna start throwing some elbows.
Right.
So,
But we've
so
talked to
basically that's
Supreme
where I'm at.
and we had a good conversation. So if you want, I'd be
What do
happy
you
to
mean? He had
moderate.
massive TDS. It was
He
awesome.
did, but we had I thought, a good conversation.
Yeah.
No, we talked about two things. One thing we agreed on, and then I forgot. Yeah, then he had massive TDS.
Yeah. Him and Doom were both went in TDS.
But I would be
have
happy.
TDS more than you guys, so
Probably. I would be happy to try to moderate a conversation between you and
it doesn't,
Supreme.
dude.
We
Honestly,
try to build a bridge
even
together.
I think here's the thing. I came in hyperbolic. I was throwing fucking elbows, whatever. He got fucking pissed at me for being a dick. He started getting his fucking shots in because he thought I deserved it. And as a result, he started being super fucking uncharitable and not conceding things that I just know to be true.
Right.
So
my question kind of relates to the Wicked Supreme stuff. Maybe this is a question for Wicked Supreme, because his narrative seemed to be, you know, the Cambridge Analytica stuff happened, and then the social media companies were on their best behavior because they didn't want another Cambridge Analytica. But I mean, the Cambridge Analytica wasn't any sort of foreign interference. Cambridge Analytica was a company that, you know, helped the Trump administration. You know, they developed some app that exposed 87 million Americans' data, unbeknownst to them, that they could build this psychological profile and, you know, target ads to them or whatever for election, election success. It wasn't foreign interference though. So I don't necessarily know how that interfaces with the Hunter Biden story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and that was where he was basically like, well, after this incident, you know, they started taking all this like misinformation, propagandistic shit like a lot more seriously. And I'm like, okay, I mean, that's fucking fair. Like that's
but if the Democrats would have done the same thing with Cambridge Analytica, they'd be fucking all
they
over
wouldn't
it.
have given a fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Because, you know, it's
they wouldn't have given a fuck. They would have been like, oh yeah, that. Well, when I do
it's
the
all
bad
fair
things, but
and
it
love
has a
and
good
electioneering.
result.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long
it
as it
wasn't
affects me.
foreign actors. It was the actual Trump campaign. So I just I don't understand. They were like, okay, well, we should have put a stop to that. Well, I guess, you know, if they were playing with TOS liberally and, you know, gathering people's data surreptitiously, okay, yeah, they should have stopped it. But
well,
I mean, it wasn't
here's
foreign
the other
interference.
Here's the other thing too, because like I feel like we're extending like infinitely more charity, or at least I am, anyways. I normally extend infinitely more charity to my opponents than they fucking extend to me. Like you could have at least let me like fucking walk out on the limb before you try to chop it off, right? But like the thing is, like, you wouldn't even let me get onto the fucking limb in the first place. You're like, no, that's stupid, and it's like, bro, like, just let me get out there first. Holy fucking shit.
Well, the essence of the disagreement, I think, is over the credentials,
intentionality.
You're saying you have a decade.
I got infinitely more fucking pissed over the credentials. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's really the only reason to get mad is, right, they're questioning your credentials. We're in a kind of a weird space now because, you know, as people like to maintain some level of privacy, they don't necessarily want to come out and give away their credentials. And I even think you said, you know, I don't want to tell where I worked because you don't want people digging in. And fair enough. But I don't know. It's such a weird space because the credentials are like always going to be an issue. People, I don't know. I didn't know what Wicked Supreme's credentials were, but it sounded like he'd had some level.
He was a linguist and maybe an analyst for fucking Intel contracting shit. So he worked for fucking, I think he said like the big three or whatever for the letter agencies, and he I think he learned Mandarin. So he was translating like Chinese intercepts for people.
Okay. Gotcha. So he read them because he was translating them, not necessarily to actually do anything with them.
Well, I mean, his massive goddamn dunk against me was like, well, bro, you know, sometimes linguists and analysts are the same person, right? Not everybody is Jason Bourne. It's like, yeah, no fucking shit. Like, goddamn. Like, what actually insulted me most about that fucking conversation wasn't like, if you want to throw jabs or whatever, throw jabs. But number one, like, at least know what the fuck you're shit talking. And then two, like, at least give me the grace to not presume that my position is so fucking retarded that an orangutan would have a fucking better chance of articulating it. Like that was one of my biggest frustrations, is they're like, you think every Intel analyst is fucking Jason Bourne? Clearly fucking not. What is it? Supreme is like 7'2" and 130 pounds soaking wet. Like, I don't think that motherfucker can bench 300, do parkour, and shoot people on the fucking run with a pistol. Very clearly, I don't think that, and yet I was still ascribed that position in the debate. It was very frustrating.
Yeah, well, they kept saying you had a conspiracy brain too, which was obviously a touch tone. But I mean, the conspiracy brain charge, I get where it comes from because, and we might start calling people conspiracy brained because I feel like there are certain people that they're willing to accept certain narratives without any evidence whatsoever, just on, and you even did it a bit. You were like, there are all these other things that I can point to that we have evidence for that kind of create a pattern. But just because some pattern exists in the past, I mean, obviously you're just cherry picking the things that we have evidence for, but not necessarily, you're overlooking the things that we don't necessarily have evidence for. There are lots of conspiracies we don't have evidence for.
So maybe this is like the privilege of doing my work in the past. When I used to do investigations, you make inferences based off of the available evidence and then you pursue those. So I don't have the ability to pursue. I don't have the ability to follow up on information. Whereas when you're a law enforcement officer, if you're like, based off of the available information, I think this guy did XYZ. As a result, I'm going to get a warrant. I'm going to get his cell phone or whatever. Now your hypothesis and here's another thing that pisses me the fuck off. I am very used to being wrong. I am completely comfortable with being wrong. I am completely fine forwarding a hypothesis and then basically having evidence just say like, nope, Connor, you were fucking wrong. Here's what's actually correct. I love that shit because basically I grow as a person. I learn how to like critically analyze shit better, like all that stuff. That's fucking great. But in order to be able to do that in this situation, I'm telling you that if I was an investigator that was in charge of the Hunter Biden fucking scenario or the inquiry or the incestuous relationship between the FBI and the fucking and the social media companies, I would be subpoenaing subpoenaing everybody's fucking private electronics and public electronics right now. Everybody who was ever fucking employed at Twitter or the FBI that was involved with this unit, I'd be looking at all of that shit. Because if there was even a fucking hint that the FBI was putting their fucking fingers on the scale, I would want to know about that shit. Not because they wouldn't have a justified reason for doing so, but because this incestuous relationship is so potentially damaging to our republic that we have to know whether or not that occurred.
Well, and you'd think there would be some effort to hide it. So it would probably be on personal devices if it was going on at all. I don't know. Like, obviously we just feel like you have to kind of default to, we don't really know yet until we have evidence. So, and I think that's the root of the disagreement there. It's just like, I don't
think it's a disagreement though. I think people presume that I'm saying I know.
Mm-hmm.
I know the FBI did this. I
It sounded
know
like you
that
were saying that on Twitter. But...
Oh, maybe I got fucking pissed off. Wait, Twitter?
Yeah.
What, in our conversation?
Yeah.
Well, so I would say that
you could change your mind. Listen, I don't want to talk you into taking the wrong position.
Can I say it's uber fucking sus? Can I say my fucking spidey tingle is going off?
We all think it's uber fucking sus. Obviously.
Can I say it smells like fucking smoke and I want to make sure there's not a fire?
Yeah, that's exactly what you should say.
Investigations are that underway. Hopefully,
this is what I was going to suggest to you when you're talking, Destiny or anyone about this. This would be my position.
Honestly, I think I'm a little bit too fucking butthurt for
I understand
at this point.
But I'm saying just going forward,
unless it's low and slow like this.
I understand. Yeah. But I'm just saying going
forward, a few more times.
Well, I'd say going forward it'd be, there's no smoking gun here. There's just lots of smoke, and it definitely merits a deeper investigation. Period. Because to me, it's like it's like with the Rush investigation. There's so much smoke, and then all the people on the left, they assume oh, look at all this smoke. There has to be a Trump-Russia collusion connection. There has to be there. There's all the smoke. And what happens? They look into it, and it's like, oh, all that smoke disappears, and there was really nothing underneath it.
Well, now I know Destiny's if he watches this, he's gonna get triggered by what the fuck you said.
So, I thought Destiny agreed that in terms of the Trump-Russia backdoor collusion, that wasn't evidence. But then the second part of the Mueller investigation, which was, did Trump obstruct the investigation? Now that's a different question.
Well, but there was also like I think it was General Kelly or something like that. Like he didn't
Mhm.
disclose that he was operating as a foreign agent, and he caught a couple of years. And there was like some other people from the Trump campaign that caught some years for
General
not
Kelly?
disclosing.
You
Fucking
mean
yeah,
you mean Flynn?
is it James Kelly? Is it Flynn? I don't
I don't know
fucking
who
know.
you're talking about.
Google that shit. Fucking
General Kelly was he was
General Kelly
he was
Trump
he was operating as a foreign agent.
advisor. Maybe I'm mixing people up.
I don't
Could
know,
have been
whatever.
Flynn.
It's whatever. I listen, my position on the Russian investigation, and I made this very public, was I said, I looked into a lot of the claims. There's lots of smoke, nothing conclusive that I think was publicly available, but I will trust the Mueller investigation. Mueller investigation came out. I fucking read that tome, and I said, okay, this satisfies, my feelings on it.
So I clicked on General Kelly. I'm probably thinking of Flynn because Kelly allegedly said that Trump was fucking praising Hitler.
Oh,
So I
probably not
think
him. Right.
yeah, so probably not him, but not only that, now I'm starting to understand fucking Donald Trump and Kanye West and Nick
Right.
Fuentes' fucking friendliness.
Well, there you go. Well,
Listen,
no, see,
Hitler
but
did a lot of good things, okay? Like
there
Jesus
you
fucking
go.
Christ.
That was part of
Uh,
the debate I had with Rob, was about
mm,
he didn't seem at least willing to accept my premise, which was that there was enough information to merit the Russia investigation in the first place. Even though now we say, well, it wasn't, there didn't seem to be any collusion.
I think this is part of the reason why I was offended that I was just treated like a fucking tribalist fucking,
Because you're not,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, it's because like I have a hypothesis. I'm passionate about it. I think I
Right.
have information that supports my hypothesis. I want to present it to people who I like and respect, who I think are intelligent, and I want them to fight me on it. But I don't want them to call me a fucking brain dead idiot retard liar with a fucking dick in my ear who
Right.
thinks that every intel operative is fucking Jason Bourne. That's not fun for me. Fuck you. And
Right.
and I'm a fucking hall monitor and I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And I'm basically getting talked to by, no offense to anybody who does this for a living, but basically dickheads who fucking turned on a webcam, started smoking pot and talking shit for a fucking decade. These are the people that I'm fucking talking
Well,
to.
hold on.
So
There's nothing wrong with turning on a webcam and smoking weed. So, but can you sum up your position really just in a couple of
Well,
sentences?
wait, hold on. Before you do that, let me
which one?
interject here. Let me interject
Mhm.
here, because I think this is actually really important for like understanding conflict in general. Have you ever noticed that if you're talking to someone, like in real life, they're kind of far away from you, no one's angry at each other, and they say something, and you say, "What? I can't hear you," and then they raise their voice. But almost always, not always, but very often when they raise their voice, there's like a tinge of anger when they raise their voice. Have you
Yeah, because
noticed
I don't want to
this?
say it a second time. Like, what
Well,
the
no,
fuck?
it's
Yeah,
not
I was about
just
to say because I'm annoyed that I have to
it's
fucking raise my voice,
it's
but
not just that though. It's
uh-huh.
because in order to raise your voice, to get the energy to raise your voice, you almost have to draw in like some emotion into it. Like the anger of emotion is what gives you that little bit of energy perk to raise your voice.
I actually
And
sounded
so,
a lot calmer than I thought I
but I
was.
think this happens very often in real life, and it happens very often in these kind of online conversations, is that I think it takes training to be able to get heated or to be very energized about discussing something without being angry, because we use anger is where we draw a lot of our energy from in the first place.
Yeah, that's a good
And so what
point.
happens is we start getting heated about something, we get energized about it. We're using our anger to get energized about it. And so the biochemical of anger is in our brain, and then it makes us, become assholes essentially to each other.
Well,
Yeah.
and by the way, like so there's banter, right? Which is just like you're fucking with your boys, calling each other pieces of shit,
Right.
whatever. Ah, you didn't do this, you motherfucker, blah blah blah. But like the point of the jokes or the ribs or whatever is that everybody's having a good time, not like calling into question somebody's fucking character.
Sure,
Well,
I
it
agree
it
completely
takes
on
a
that.
while to get there, though.
Right.
Obviously, like you
Well,
got to have a
but
good,
see,
stable relationship, and you don't
and
really have that with any of those people that you were live streaming
well,
with. So,
I think I think I presumed too much. I think I presumed I had a better relationship than I had, and the reason why is because I've been in the Twitch and YouTube fucking political space for the better part of like 2 years, and I'm
Right.
known as like the more rational conservative. So to
Right.
just have people be like, "You got Trump's dick in your ear, you're a fucking liar," like, yeah, dude, that fucking stung, and the reason why it stung is because I thought I had more respect than that, and I just didn't.
so
Yeah. Well,
what's
it's difficult. I mean, especially with like these issues, people get so emotionally triggered one way or the other about certain political issues, and this is one of those issues. So it's sad, but
So the
Adam wants
summary
to
of
get
the
into the
position,
weeds.
yeah, exactly. Just a couple
yeah.
sentences. I like just so it's clear for everyone.
Sure. So if I was to like, I'm gonna take Sitch's position under advisement. I'll think about it, all that kind of bullshit. But I'll tell you what my position was up until
Right.
literally I turned on my webcam tonight. Right.
Yes.
So my position was that basically the Twitter files do speak to, at the very least, if you don't think there's anything interesting inside them, they speak to a broader, interesting culture war turning of the tide, which is the world's richest man spent $44 billion buying a social media website in order to blow open the Overton window for the right, because the right wing has felt suppressed for a very long time. Okay. If you're going to take that as a meta narrative, that's the meta narrative that I think is most important. Narrowing down on the details, I think that specifically when it comes to, that's like the Twitter files, what I think is important. I think progressives who
Nobody
think that,
contested that though on the thing, right?
sure, I think on the first debate, I would have liked the ability to articulate that, and I don't think I
Okay,
ever got the
gotcha.
opportunity. Because I was backed into, I just think conservatives are getting banned for the virtue of being conservatives, and on top of that, I forget the
Well, the
fucking
contention
subpoints.
was over the FBI stuff specifically. Did
That
the
was the second
FBI collude
conversation.
with
Yeah,
Twitter? Yeah, that's the
yeah.
contentious claim.
Well, depends on your definition of collude, right? So my second argument might be separate from what I'm saying right now, but my argument now is that we know that three-letter agencies have an incestuous relationship with social media. We know that they're pressuring them in order to fucking censor shit and in order to deliver intel to people. We know that you can look at the timeline, Sitch, and you can kind of poke holes in the timeline. But we know that the FBI had the laptop, but they had it for the better part of a year before the October surprise released. I think it was like 10 months exactly. We know that they had an opportunity to investigate it. They might not have had the opportunity to complete their investigation and therefore would not have wanted to comment on it publicly, right? Then we also know that the FBI, according to Sitch, intuited it through their fucking 3D fucking chess gigabrains. And according to me, they intuited it because they basically knew that the Trump campaign had a copy of it. They intuited that the October surprise was going to be Hunter Biden. And so as a result, they did, secret briefings about Russian hack and release situations. They kept asking social media companies for intel. They kept the pressure up in order to get people ready for some big drop in fucking October, which wouldn't really surprise anybody. And as a result, Twitter and Facebook suppressed the Hunter Biden story because they believed that that is what they had been constantly briefed on. They believed that that was what the FBI was ready for. Then, as a result, they suppressed and slowed down their stories. I think most notably, like temporarily pushing back the New York Times and New York Post stories. And then, as a result, you have this entire Hunter Biden is a corrupt piece of shit doing cocaine, fucking banging whores, and selling influence. All of that is cast into doubt as a Russian hack. I'm saying that it would not surprise me at all if this was in order to put the fingers on the scale for Biden, and that these people fucking play golf together, they rub elbows, all that kind of bullshit. As a result, it's incestuous fucking DC politics. I also, if there was like a high level inquiry and they investigated everybody's personal and public devices, they found that everybody was acting in good faith and it was just a matter of shitty timing, I would amend my understanding of the situation to Sitch's understanding of it, where it's like a tragedy of 10,000 fucking errors that leads to one of the most fucked up situations in modern American political history.
So
Right.
first of all, I have a very big contention with you saying that the FBI and Twitter had an incestuous relationship, because we all know that they were really step siblings. Okay, so it was all good.
I'm stuck in the dryer.
Exactly. Listen, Twitter found FBI stuck in the washing machine. Okay.
Yeah, they did do
They were
that.
Twitter was trying really hard to pull the FBI out of the washing machine. It was completely innocent. Yeah. No, but just remember, you have to remember that when this is all going on, when from July 2019 is when the Zelensky phone call happened. And we had all that, Hunter, Biden, Burisma, Trump impeachment stuff. And the impeachment trial didn't happen until January of 2020. So it's not like a big stretch for anyone to think that Hunter, Biden, Burisma stuff was going to be, involved in some October surprise, considering the impeachment was
Sure.
that year.
The reason why this isn't hitting my brain as hard as it probably should is because for me, the Hunter Biden story was kind of a nothing burger. It's like, oh,
Led
what?
to an impeachment, I mean.
Well, no. I mean, I'm talking about Hunter Biden being corrupt himself.
Right,
It's like,
right.
oh, a nepotistic dipshit fucking fail son of a politician is doing coke, banging hookers, and soliciting influence. I'm fucking shocked. But what is I think what pisses me off about this is that if I'm right, if this is kind of like golf buddies picking who they want to be in charge because they like that boss over the other boss, which I think is entirely possible. It's just I think that they could do it for good reasons, like defending the Republic.
Sure.
But that Hunter Biden still got to fucking go. Like that's my thing. This is my fucking thing about this is like, just Americans know that there's a two-tier justice system, that if you're fucking black and you do crack and you're poor, nobody's going to give a fuck about you and you're going to be locked up for 5 to fucking 10 years. Whereas if you're the president's son, then everybody's going to make constant excuses for you for fucking decades while you're going into bribery and all this other bullshit.
Sure.
And
I mean, I don't think it has
that
to do with being black. It has
at
to do with being poor, but
yeah, I think it has to do with being rich. Yeah,
right.
For sure. At least today.
Do you think if the FBI did try to pressure Twitter either through direct action or indirect action to get rid of the Hunter Biden laptop story, don't you think that Twitter would have passed the buck to them? Because I mean, Twitter acknowledged that they fucked up on the story.
They tried, and then on top of that, the people who were pressuring
Twitter tried to blame the FBI.
No, Twitter tried to ask the FBI for guidance when the story was.
No. What I'm saying is, now that like after the Hunter Biden fiasco, Twitter has acknowledged including Roth publicly before all the Twitter files came out, that they totally bungled the Hunter Biden laptop story. And I would have thought that if they could, they would have passed the buck to the FBI to say it's not our fault, it's the FBI.
Well, I think Roth kind of did, where he's like, listen, I got these fucking briefings. They didn't tell me shit on the day of. They told me that Apartment 28 was doing all this hacking shit. They said the story was going to be Hunter Biden. So, I mean, I just did what I could. Like, dude, like, actually straight up, like, so this is where I'm not as big of a dickhead of a conservative as like everybody else involved in this fucking story, right? I feel bad for Roth. Like, I feel so fucking bad for that dude. He had to make so many hard decisions so fucking quickly, and nobody fucking likes him because like he won't do what they want him to do. Like the FBI wants more influence, the FBI wants more intel, the FBI wants, more back channels, more communications, more meetings, more this. And like to the point that he's like, listen, guys, I can only give you so much, fuck off. And then the former FBI guy is like, hey, I think this is hack materials. I think we should go ahead and knock this out. And he's like, I don't know if it fits. And like, he had to make a fucking decision at the end of the day,
Right. Well,
so
I agree.
I
understand with your feeling about Roth, and I agree somewhat in that he is in a weird, difficult position, and he was pushing back against the FBI and multiple Twitter file leaks. And so he's just not some sort of like, in it for the bag for them. And it did seem like, even though I think he's probably heavily politically biased, it did seem like he was trying to figure out something that was neutral. And I think he's going to unfortunately get tarred as like the problem, when in fact I think the problem
I don't think
was
he was
just,
at all.
Yeah, I don't think
he was trying his best.
Specifically was a problem. I think the problem was just the idea that Twitter had that they should be fact checking anything, which I don't think is Twitter's place.
It was a systemic problem.
Right.
All right, Adam. What you got?
Gotta find
you want to
that,
get into
that
the fucking memes?
You got to find that Jim Baker email so you can read it again.
So just to summarize, because that was like a lot longer than 2 sentences. You think? So you think the FBI inceptioned Twitter into thinking the Hunter Biden stuff was hacked, or I mean, it could be hacked and it still be true though.
Right. Which is also, that brings up another question of whether or not they should even give a fuck if it's
so.
Exactly.
So they inceptioned them into thinking that it was misinformation, and therefore they had to hide it.
Yeah.
Okay. And we don't have any hardcore evidence of that yet, but hopefully we'll get some through
the
investigations.
Schellenberger, I accept Sitch's narrativization of the timeline, but at the same time, like if I just listen to the series of sentences, FBI contacts Twitter, says that there's going to be a story break in October, right? The story is going to be about Hunter Biden. They brief Twitter on Apartment 28, a Russian hacking organization. They war game with a private institution, blah, blah, blah. Sitch and I don't agree on
Twitter
it
does, not the FBI.
Yeah. Twitter war games the entire situation before it occurs. Then, when the story gets dropped, Sitch and I also disagree on this part. Twitter sees it. They're like, this is it. This is the Russian disinformation campaign. This is what, the FBI was charging us about. This is why they gave us the secret briefings. This is why we did our war games. We're fucking ready. Let's do it. And then they're like, oh, it doesn't quite fit our policy. And then an FBI guy who's there is like, I kind of think it does fit the policy. Go ahead and do that. Tell me that's not shady.
All that could have been coincidence, so obviously.
That dude, like, all right, listen, I get it. There's a lot of crazy fucking coincidences on this planet, but once you stack like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 12, 15 fucking coincidences into a single fucking event, you gotta start raising eyebrows and starting.
Yeah, but again,
eyebrows are up. You gotta like.
This is right. This is the Russian investigation. This is literally the Russian investigation. All these weird coincidences.
Okay, listen.
So, and it's the same thing with January 6th. Oh, this is when I argue with people on the left about Donald Trump intended for there to be a violent riot on January 6th.
If anybody in that conversation had gone, hey Connor, take the next minute in order to stretch out your hypothesis.
Oh, I'm not blaming you for any of that.
Okay, that's interesting. Here's my alternative hypothesis. Which one do you think is more likely between the two of us? We would have just had a fucking conversation.
Right.
We would have,
which is what I did because I'm also
screaming the word cunt.
Yes, but that's why we don't have as many viewers as Destiny. It's a trade-off, I guess.
Listen, you guys are amazing. You're kicking ass and taking names. You had fucking Dave Smith, famous guest of the Joe Rogan podcast on. You guys are one step away from being on the Joe Rogan podcast. Okay?
There you go. Okay, I found it. So here's the Jim Baker email. He says,
we could be on Joe Rogan if Sitch was just nice to my friend Kurt, but he won't do it.
I know.
He's such a meanie.
Jim Baker says, I support the conclusion that we need more facts to assess whether the materials were hacked.
But
at this stage, however, it is reasonable for us to assume that they may have been and that caution is warranted. There are some facts that indicate that the materials may have been hacked, while there are others indicating that the computer was either abandoned and or the owner consented to allow the repair shop to access it for at least some purposes. We simply need more information.
But this gets me back to that's a fucking phone call, right? Like,
what do you mean?
And why wouldn't the FBI just be like, yeah, we got a fucking laptop. It's all good. It's Gucci, baby.
Well, but that could be the real issue. Is first of all, we all know that when you ask the FBI or really anyone about details for investigations, they never want to tell anyone anything ever.
But they literally okay.
And but maybe that should be
right. But maybe that they literally have backdoor communications built for exactly this scenario.
But they're all one-sided. That's the problem.
What? Where the FBI is feeding information to Twitter, but Twitter can't get back to the FBI. Be
really right. And maybe that should really be Twitter putting their foot down, saying, "Listen, we're no longer going to work with you. When we have an issue and we ask you for information and you fucking don't tell us and you just go, oh, we're not going to tell you anything. We're investigating. Shut up." Then maybe the Twitter should say, well, then fuck you. We're not going to help. We're not going to work with you ever again.
This is
a one-sided relationship.
This is a problem with the relationship too, because the FBI goes to them and says, "Listen, we've got this laptop. It seems to be legit," but they don't necessarily know if the information that starts popping up is going to be actually information that was on the laptop.
If it's related, where they're like supplement. Oh, New York Post comes out 10 seconds later, and they're like, "Oh, we got additional emails from Hunter Biden's laptop or whatever," and they're just talking to some dickhead where it's not actually verified information. Because of the FBI's endorsement of the previous story, it looks like the FBI is endorsing the entire thing.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. That if you look at it, which is good, I didn't even think about from the FBI's perspective. They're like, we don't want to have our fingerprints on any of this. We don't want to be involved in making these policy decisions about things we're not certain of. So we're just going to say no comment.
Okay, so at the
reputation's on the line.
Right. At the very least, then this brings the entire current system and relationship between three-letter agencies and social media into question, and whether or not the FBI should have any fucking role with like disinformation, and it should be up to social media companies completely.
We
Where
can't let foreign actors though come in and just fuck with our elections. So we got like the whole reason to have the three-letter agencies is to avoid that. And you know they're going to. You know Putin would like to fuck with our elections as much as possible.
That's interesting to me. Like what do you mean by fuck with?
Send out disinformation. Yeah.
So how would you combat that in the current narrative where like
hypothetically the three-letter agencies are the ones that are, you know, designed to do that. That's why we have them.
Okay, but so let's say New York Times and New York Post are supposed to have, I know Post is fucking slanted right, blah blah blah. But New York Times and New York Post, they have their own vetting procedures for information that they're going to choose to publish, right? So like why the fuck is that any of the fucking FBI's purview at all?
Well, it depends.
In reference to the fucking social media.
So I think when it comes to just general disinformation, the FBI has should not be touching anything related to general disinformation.
Okay.
Which, as I said, according to what we know so far, it was only about COVID and where to vote. I didn't see anything else. Which I don't really care about either of those topics, so I don't really.
It's weird, but whatever. Yeah.
Well, I agree. It's weird that I mean, I think it's weird that they're going after obvious joke accounts, right? But to me, it's when I think
it's weird that they pick two arbitrary fucking subjects that are like, I don't want to say prohibited to fucking talk about, but they're sticking their
those aren't arbitrary at all. You had a public health crisis that everyone was freaking out about, and you had when to vote. I mean, that's kind of
hold on. But in reference to the fucking public health crisis, like okay, so hold on, just tell me what they did. Okay, so for instance, like somebody's like, I took the vaccine and now I'm trans or some shit. Like what? I
don't know the specifics. I just know that I was looking through it. They had to do with them complaining about COVID misinformation stuff. Which, by the way, I don't think they should have been involved in. I'm just saying those were the two subjects they were involved in.
I'm just trying to think about a good example of why the FBI should be involved in fucking dealing with that.
I know. I don't think they should be, but I don't really care because those aren't subjects that light my fuse.
Okay.
But I agree that they shouldn't be. It doesn't really make sense to me. But I understand why the FBI would think that they should be.
Okay.
That makes sense. So, but what I was saying is, in terms of like foreign interference, if the FBI does have information that there are foreign accounts on Twitter that are trying to peddle propaganda, and that these are foreign state actor, accounts, I have absolutely no problem with the FBI telling Twitter, hey, these are foreign state actor accounts, and just giving them the heads up. I have no problem with that.
I mean, that's why why we have the agencies.
And this is why.
What about domestic state actor accounts?
No, what do you mean domestic state act? I don't know what that means.
Exactly what I'm implying, which is basically like New York Post wants the right wing to win, New York Times wants the left wing to win, so they're putting their fingers on the scale when it comes to propaganda.
That's hands off.
How it's presented.
That's hands off. Completely hands off.
Okay. But can we? I guess you're saying that since there was no direct demand from the FBI that Twitter and Facebook do anything relative to these fucking stories,
that I saw,
it's a fucking it's explainable coinkyding, a big fucking whoopsie.
Would they do? I mean, that.
Well, when you say it like that, you're trying to make it sound like it's some ridiculous story.
No, I'm just making it sound cute. I'm not trying to make it sound ridiculous. I think so. Here, I have two. Sorry, Adam. I'll shut up in a second. I have two brains when it comes to this. I've seen the nepotism and corruption and aligned interest of corporate America and public institutions, and I know that people love to rub fucking elbows and look after their buddies, right?
I know.
Even if it's a totally fucked up story, it doesn't matter. They're my boy. I'm going to cover their ass. So that's one brain.
Right.
The other brain is I've seen some wild shit that should have like statistically never fucking happened on the entire planet, and it was this like giant tornado of fucked up weird circumstances that just aligned into the weirdest situation I'd ever seen.
Okay, but will you acknowledge this isn't a crazy coincidence? This was literally the top story of the 2019 and the beginning of 2020 was the Trump impeachment hearing.
I think
it's not a
I'm
stretch
biased.
like
I
by
think
any means.
no, I think I'm biased because I didn't care
I
about
know
it.
that exactly, but I know,
Yeah.
but by acknowledging that, you have to
No,
acknowledge that it's
I'm
not like a
acknowledging that's a
massive
blind spot.
coincidence that that would be the
No,
thought process of a
it's
potential
no,
leak.
I'm acknowledging that as a blind spot.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, and the
And
complexity of the information environment. Like what is supposed to happen here? Are they supposed to vet every single claim? Is Twitter supposed to ask, okay, is this on the laptop? And the FBI is supposed to go, yes, that's actually on the laptop, so that's real. Okay, this
Right.
isn't on the laptop. That's not real. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
Like that, and
No,
and
then,
can you imagine if that stuff came out? Like they're live vetting this intel with Twitter.
Right.
yeah.
Like
But then I think that's kind of where Sitch, I don't know if you agree
it's
with me.
ridiculous.
Like, shouldn't the solution be don't fuck with it?
yes, yeah, that's my position.
But
Don't
it's
fuck with it.
already out. It's already in the information space. Like you
Right.
can't just ignore it.
Yeah, so don't fuck with it.
Yeah, so let people talk about
It's
it. Let
out
people
there.
post it. Yeah,
Let people
that's
talk
my
about
position.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
and isn't that what they did with fucking WikiLeaks too?
But
like I'm pretty
That
sure
is
WikiLeaks
right, and
still
that's
has
why
a
that's why
fucking
I think they
page.
were ideologically biased, is because people were bringing up WikiLeaks, people were bringing up Trump's tax returns. There were other things that seemed like they were quote unquote hacked or leaked that people were talking about on Twitter, and Twitter was totally fine with them, putting out there.
Yeah,
And I
the
think
public interest overrides the concerns about
right,
how
and
it
I,
was
and I don't
improperly
exactly,
obtained.
and I don't think anyone, honestly, if they were being honest, would think that if the politics of the leak of the Hunter Biden story were reversed and it was like Donald Trump Jr.'s laptop,
Yeah, they would
that
have
Twitter
been all
would
over
have
it.
suppressed the story.
Oh,
Like,
I wanted to bring that. Oh, God,
But
somebody brought
how
that
is
shit
this,
up.
just how is this not all Twitter though? I like Twitter has the least restriction on them. Like Wicked Supreme said the Hatch Act is going to could be used to prosecute anybody for malfeasance at the FBI. The Hatch Act is not going to be invoked with these these lefties at Twitter. They can do whatever the fuck they want. They're like looking for an excuse to ban this shit.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I looked up the Hatch Act. Number one, he was saying that I was under the Hatch Act, so it was like mind blowing that I wasn't familiar with it or whatever. I was never under the fucking Hatch Act. I was under the fucking Department of Defense. They have similar laws, but my total briefing on the something related to the Hatch Act is don't use your military service to talk about politics. It's cringe. And then don't use your military service to endorse candidates. It's cringe and illegal.
Well,
like that was all they tell like a fucking 19-year-old Marine.
Look, a political conversation that takes place at the water cooler between two people who are supposedly limited by the Hatch Act is much different than a conversation that takes place with a social media company that has the power to disappear stories. Like, it's a completely different situation.
But see, like, I don't even think that but here's the thing is like what I'm alleging occurred at the FBI is all perfectly justifiable within their purview, which makes me think that it's like infinitely more likely that you could do it and get away with it. So
it wouldn't be
instance,
justified. What do you mean? It'd be completely illegal.
Yeah, and they would
they
would dig up a law. They would write a law on the fly and throw your ass in jail.
Look at
Snowden.
Let me
running for the
it.
rest of his life.
Right.
Okay, let me describe it because I don't know what y'all are reading into what I'm saying.
Okay.
So apparently I'm saying it wrong. So when it comes to the fucking let's take one and then let's do the other. Okay. So one, you receive Hunter Biden's laptop. Some fucking dickhead from Nebraska is saying that it's got evidence of corruption, hookers, and cocaine on it. You know, you kind of don't like Trump anyways. He's a fucking asshole. Hey, Jim, you're on this fucking laptop. You deal with it, decipher it, figure it out, whatever the fuck. That's it. That's your sum total effort because you don't give a fuck whether or not this story ever comes to light. And as a result, you basically deprioritize it as a part of an investigation. Is that a violation of the Hatch Act, especially if you're hunting down narco-terrorists and fucking cartel members?
Right. So the problem with first of all, that wouldn't be a violation of the Hatch Act, but I assume
At least we got there.
I assume that if the FBI or any investigative organization intentionally slowballs an investigation, it is illegal. The problem would be it'd be so difficult to prove it was intentional. You'd have to. I mean, you could prove it was very negligent, probably. but I have to see whatever the statute would be that would apply to this
You
situation.
see, but I don't even think that would be like discoverable or chargeable or provable.
It might be. I don't know if I agree with you. It might be.
What like he texts his wife. He's like, this fucking asshole from Nebraska turned in this corruption evidence against Biden, but fuck him, lol.
Well, as I agree with you, it'd be difficult to prove because you're not going to have that text message, right? But
Probably because that
be...
motherfucker knows that if he sends that text message, he'd be in deep shit. Yeah.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. It probably, I have to look at whatever, assuming there is a law for this. I'm assuming there's a law or regulation or some kind of thing that would get you in trouble if you intentionally slowballed an investigation. But if it was written intelligently, it wouldn't just be intentional because it'd be very difficult to prove. You could just say, well, they were incredibly negligent in how they handled the situation.
So this is where I feel like my experience as an investigator is relevant. I've seen fucking investigations get slowballed.
Of course,
I've seen investigations disappear. I've seen investigations fucking.
This could have happened here. Yeah, no, we don't.
No, it could have happened. Yeah. I'm just saying I don't think it's. I'm assuming there's some rule or law against it. You know.
Sure. Okay.
That's all I'm saying. It definitely could have happened.
So listen, you're granting me at least possible, which is already like infinitely more charitable than any of my other detractors. So I'll take it. Okay. Then when it comes to the second part of it,
I feel like you're an abused, like a domestic abuse victim.
I am domestically abused. I was in love with the people who beat me, and they beat me so severely. I have
PTSD.
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's okay.
So, all right. So, anyways, and then the second part of it, I also don't think is fucking provable as a violation of the fucking Hatch Act, which is basically for the cover. Okay, I'm saying for the cover. The cover is. We got some chatter on the wire. There's some disinformation coming out. It stands to reason that the Hunter Biden shit was the biggest story of last year. As a result, we think it's going to be about Hunter Biden. As a result, we briefed all of the social media companies on the story that was likely to be about Hunter Biden on the specific Russian organization that does hacking, blah, 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 fucking blah. That's the official narrative. The unofficial narrative is we're pretty sure Giuliani has a fucking laptop. We think he's going to leak it as a part of his October surprise. If we prime the fucking social media companies in order to believe that that's hacked information, we might be able to cause enough confusion that it does less damage to Biden.
Why are they worried that Giuliani is going to use misinformation, though? I mean, that's a possibility too, obviously.
So Sitch's timeline, I find compelling, which is basically that they were being primed the entire time about Hunter Biden or about like a big operation in October. They were doing that all of 2020, but Giuliani didn't get the laptop until
August 26th, supposedly.
So basically they would have already prepped and primed before they knew the Trump campaign had the laptop.
And why would
I find that compelling? Yeah, I find that compelling. Why would they do that?
To know if the claims were true or not, to know if the campaign was
no. Why would so that would imply that the FBI has some predictive they're predicting that someone is going to leak this laptop.
Had the laptop. Yeah.
Why would they slow walk the investigation? Because if I was at the FBI, I would want to know when these claims start popping up in the wild if they actually were linked back to the laptop, because there's all kinds of crazy claims.
For me, it would be because it's the fucking potential future president's son. That's the reason why it would be like. Here's a
potential answer for why they would potentially slow walk it. If they investigate it and they find out there's something bad there, once they find that out, it might be too difficult to bury. But if you slow walk it, you could just, not really ever find out whether there's something.
So they're worried about finding the big claim more than they're worried about somebody foisting the big claim that is untrue on the public.
Right. Better to live in ignorance. Right.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
Whoopsie.
Right.
Big fucking whoopsie.
Well, it makes their life super complicated too if obviously they find something that's prosecutable in the middle of an election. So.
Right.
That's another reason to slow walk.
I don't know.
Well, and that actually speaks to them potentially that might not be malice. They might have just been handed a fucking nuclear warhead and they're like, I don't want to set this shit off.
Exactly.
Yeah. So no, but see, this is like this is the conversation we could have had where it's like, hey, Cotter,
you can't have this conversation with them. What the fuck are you? What are you even talking about?
Because I've had like good faith conversations and debates with all of these fucking people. That's why, dude. That's why it's. You know what? You said I'm an abuse victim. The reason why I'm acting like a fucking abuse victim is because I've talked to fucking Demon Mama one-on-one.
Oh my god.
Had a respectful conversation. I've talked to Mr.
shit.
Girl one-on-one twice, and I was able to wrangle pseudo respectful conversations out of him.
I'm doubtful of that.
I was able to talk to Mike from PA, and he was the rudest cunt that I've ever dealt with up until fucking last week. Right. So to have like Destiny, who I've had half a dozen conversations, debates with, be more rude than Mike from PA was shocking. Like that was like actually amazing.
I understand. I got you.
Yeah, and then Supreme, I also respect his intelligence. So for him to be fucking obtuse about like super small points, that was incredibly frustrating. Sherry, I'm not, we're supposed to be clearing the air soon. I wasn't surprised by her behavior. And then Straighter Aid, we've made amends because her fucking troll is what set off the fucking nuke. So on some level, I have to respect her like artful ability to piss me off. So yeah. So
well, they were throwing accusations left and right. So obviously,
I'm not gonna lie, liar, Trump's dick in your ear, and hall monitor are permanently fucking burned in my brain.
It's difficult. Like I said, it's difficult because they're questioning your accolades, and if you're not gonna just come out and say, this is what I did, then, which you have every right to for privacy reasons, then it's gonna be like an unresolved thing.
But so this is the reason why I was so angry. And no, I basically posted my fucking resume to Twitter with like corroborative photos like the next day.
Oh, did you really? Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. You can see all of my shit. You can see me in Iraq, you can see me hanging out with the boys. I turned it into a bunch of like, racist and homophobic jokes, right? But but
so were you a military investigator then?
No, so I'll just give you the backstory. So
were you a detective? Did you make detective in a police force?
I did not.
Were you Batman?
I was not Batman. I wish I was Batman.
Would you tell me if you were Batman?
I would tell you if I was the Punisher, Sitch. I trust you.
Oh, okay,
so anyways, I joined the Marine Corps out of high school. I served for 4 years. I went to Iraq in 07, 08 during the surge. I did logistics work. I got really good training. All of the people who were training me at the time were all Iraq War veterans. All of my combat instructors were basically people who were deployed to Fallujah and took the city of Fallujah. So I learned a lot of really cool, fucked up, violent shit. And then I did logistics work. So I kind of got to see like the spider web of the American empire. I got to see what America does across the entire globe because I was a cog in the logistics chain. But basically half a dozen people in my high school, I think partially because of me, joined the Marine Corps because we were all friends growing up. We talked about joining the military, like all that kind of stuff. So a lot of them joined the Marine Corps as well. And so we've been boys forever. And so one of them is an intel officer. He worked in a recon unit. He did all that kind of shit. Another one of them was a intel analyst that made kill packets. Another one of my friends from the police academy was a person who did open source investigations on basically like local gangs in Orlando. So she like walked me through how they go about basically tricking gangbangers in order to add e-thoughts on the internet in order to get information about their fucking
so you have a bunch of
operations.
So you have a friend group that
we get drunk and we talk about this shit.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we get drunk and we talk about this shit. And some of my best friends in the world, my best friend at my fucking wedding was an infantryman. Like he takes doors and fucking kills people. What my mentor when I was in law enforcement was a fucking infantryman who he basically I love that man.
Right.
And so like I'm not saying that I'm Jason Bourne. I'm saying that I'm friends with fucking trigger pullers and I'm friends with intel guys. And we talked about it and we got drunk. Right. So I know.
Have you ever asked
I don't know
them
everything.
Have you ever asked them if they would sacrifice their employment for their political aspirations? Or...
Yeah, you don't want to know the answer to that question.
Well, so you haven't asked them. I mean, I would.
No,
ask.
I've asked them, and half of them are on the. They're not as pro America as I am, which is funny because they're still employed.
They said, "Fuck no."
Yeah,
for number one.
No. They basically say that all of the principles and ideals that they used to fight for are no longer there, and they actually have difficulty going to work every day.
Yeah, unfortunately that's what happens once you're chewed up by the system.
Of course, yeah.
Right. So yeah. So anyways,
What was the
and then
point
the
of
point.
bringing up like this investigator talk in the first place in the conversation?
It was literally just whether or not like I have like critical fucking thinking skills to read shit and be
No, I
able
mean
to
like, did you
fucking
bring
come
it
up
up?
with
Did they bring it
hypotheses.
up? Like
I don't
who brought this up in
remember.
the first place?
Dude, literally you're asking somebody who got like fucking jumped. Like, hey,
I
which one of them
understand.
punched you
Yeah,
first?
okay.
Like,
Well, no,
I
because
don't
I would
fucking know.
just, yeah, right. Because I would suggest like when you're having these internet conversations, like I
Mhm.
think for most people, and especially when they're in a debate, like all the people's background is essentially
Yeah. Moot.
irrelevant to the conversation.
Unimportant.
I mean, because most people are just, armchair whatever, so they're not going to give any credence
Yeah,
to
but
people's background
And
I
regardless.
don't accept that.
and
Well,
Like
but
I
I'm saying
the
that's
understand
just
that's
the
the
way it
dynamic. I'm
is,
just
whether
no,
you
I
accept
accept the
it or not.
dynamic. I'm
if
just
Right.
you
saying
if
I
you
don't accept that in a
accepted that
conversation.
if you
Right.
accepted that all of their attacks would have been completely null and void because all they were doing was attacking your
Well, no, I would just say
credibility.
not. I would never even bring it up. I mean, like
Yeah, no,
personally,
I'm with Sitch.
I've never
I'm
worked.
agreeing with you.
Sitch,
No, I
I can't
understand.
wait to see for all this debate advice. I can't wait to see your active participation in the debate scene. I can't wait to
There
see
you
you on
go.
panels. It's going to be great.
I'll be so happy to show you. But no, what I was gonna say is, I've never personally worked as some government investigator or anything related to that
Mhm.
ever in my
Mhm.
entire life, and I would never trust anyone else's investigative opinion to just tell me something and me not look at the facts anyway.
No. Of
So,
course, and that's like I think they thought that I was asserting more than I was, which is like because I'm an investigator, just trust me, bro. Like don't even
right.
fucking like don't even look at the countervailing evidence. And it's like I'm not saying I can't be wrong. I'm saying I have a skill set that leads me to believe XYZ ABC things. You should relatively speaking take me seriously. Like that's
So you
you know
Yeah,
are
but
that
the
yeah,
issue is that,
that's the
well, I'm
problem.
saying the issue
what
is everyone still can fall prey to their emotional elephant, their political biases,
Right.
regardless of
that's fine.
their skill
I'll call
set.
them a cunt.
Okay, but
Listen, in the moment, perfectly fucking heated or whatever. But like,
oh yeah.
if you're so for instance, like, legitimately, so the second part of the story is I was in law enforcement for 4 years, and during my the last phase of my training, a person was murdered in front of me, and I
Mhm.
basically like held their fucking gunshot wounds as they died, and went into shock. And then all of the other cops were like, after the ambulance took him away, all the other cops were like setting up crime scene tape and
Sure.
crime scene tape, and they were like collecting shell casings and doing this, that, the other. And I was the only person talking to the fucking crowd. I was the rookie. And so I'm talking to the crowd. Everybody's telling me to fuck myself. We don't talk to cops, whatever. Did you see anything? No. Blah, blah, blah. So I probably get, told to fuck myself or I didn't see anything probably 50 times until eventually I find the fucking key witness. And so the key witness ends up telling us that, like, I get her information. I actually release her from the scene because I didn't want her to get fucking murdered as a result of this. And then she ends up giving us like the shooter. She gives us the family. She gives us like through the nickname that she knew about. We were able to identify who it was. They were able to, like, the detectives were able to do really good work off of my shit. And then I carried that with me all the time. So like I solved like stalking cases, domestic battery. I put a pedophile behind bars. I fucking solved like burglaries and domestic violences. I did so many different things that involved like a lot of thought, people skills, calculation of humans' motivations
Right.
and emotions, like all that kind of shit. And that was like 3 years of my fucking life. And so to have that boiled down to you're a fucking hall monitor, like, yeah, I'm gonna call you a cunt.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah. No, that's not what I'm saying. Like, listen, I agree.
yeah.
Like, if you told me, like, we were having
It's
a
my fault for
conversation.
invoking the experience in the
No, that's
first
not even what I was
place.
gonna say. Like,
Yeah.
so, like, if you brought that up in this conversation, and I would say like that, I'm not calling you stupid. Oh, they were probably calling you stupid, but I'm not calling you
A little
stupid.
bit.
And I think that can show that, yeah, you're a smart guy. You've done these investigations, et cetera, et cetera. But to me, none of that matters in these political conversations, because when you're talking about like investigating crimes, I think you're not, like, generally you can be, but generally you're not. You don't have like a political bias in trying to solve a crime. You're just literally just trying to solve a crime. So it's not like you necessarily have like your elephant pushing you in some kind of direction or some kind of answer you want to be true from the beginning. And I think when it comes to
Yeah,
politics, we just have so many more biases that are pushing us to believe certain things.
yeah, sure. But then basically, like, I had hunches all the time as like a law enforcement officer. But what you do off of your hunches is you narrativize them based off of available evidence, and then you use that in order to get a warrant, and then you use the warrant in order to confirm or deny what happened. This is actually a perfect example. We had a rape investigation where the woman claimed that her husband basically handcuffed her, beat the shit out of her, raped her, and basically that he worked at a gun store. He had access to a lot of firearms. He was violent, threatened to murder the family, and as a result, she wanted him arrested. She actually had a rape kit. She had photos of the bruising. She had basically like all this stuff that she had meticulously documented. She had text messages threatening her life that were not from the husband, but were from a different number. And she basically claimed like he's using like WhatsApp or whatever, like he's using a different messaging system. And so as a result, this guy gets fucking arrested. He gets arrested for like rape and like stalking and aggravated battery and like all this kind of shit. And later, she keeps getting like stalking messages, all this kind of shit while it's going on. And then I get a call for the for like a basically a break-in of her house. Now, the weirdest thing about it is the door is wide open. That doesn't happen. I don't really hear, I mean, it does happen, but I don't hear any screaming. I don't have any witnesses. There's no blood. There's nothing. There's nothing showing me that there's any kind of commotion. I got a second unit. We go into the house. And the first thing I notice is that the pictures, if you run into a house and you ransack a house, you basically, if you're smashing things, you're just grabbing things and throwing them. The frames are broken. The glass is everywhere. There's shit all over the ground. There's whatever's all over the ground, right? Her picture frames were taken off of the wall and they were placed on the steps. The frames are not broken. The glass is not broken. The couch is rustled. Like all the pillows are taken and thrown everywhere. The thing that isn't ransacked, which is the thing that if you want to be a dick is the easiest thing to ransack, is the kitchen. The kitchen is spotless. But if you wanted to be a dick to somebody, the easiest way to fuck them over is to reach into all of their food and all of their utensils,
just drop it,
throw them fucking everywhere.
Right.
So this is crazy sus. Go in, clear the bedroom. We find the female. She is locked to the bed with kids' handcuffs. They're fucking metal, but they have a release latch on the side of them.
Right.
So at this point, I'm like, listen, I'm not fucking Sherlock Holmes, but this is the craziest fucking shit I've ever seen. Detectives come in. She says that she's still getting threatened. They take her phone. They do the forensics.
Right.
They find out she was the one threatening herself.
Sure.
She was the one stalking herself. The husband had not communicated with her the entire fucking time.
Right.
And on top of that, she lied and staged her own fucking break-in and like intimidation in order to like not convict her husband of rape. She had lied about it and broke under fucking investigation when they started bringing up fucking everything. As a result, this guy gets fucking cleared. So the whole point of bringing that shit up is just like, I've seen some of the wildest shit you could ever fucking imagine, and it takes a sense of curiosity. And the initial thing, if we had just gone with the initial evidence, that dude would be convicted of rape and he would be in prison for the next 20 fucking years of his life.
Sure.
But because you follow your suspicions and your hunches and your evidence and your fucking like weird little shit, I can prove she was a fucking liar instantaneously. I had to use the evidence that was available in front of me in order to further verify shit, in order to clear that dude's fucking shit.
Right. But you had a hunch that there was something fishy from the beginning, right? The hunch wasn't that the guy was guilty.
Well, I mean, if you have fucking bruises and you have a rape kit. No, if you
well, no, I'm asking you, what was your hunch?
What? From the beginning that like the dude was innocent?
Yeah, well, I thought you were saying
I didn't. No, I didn't at all.
But
Yeah,
who? I mean, someone had to have a hunch about something to keep investigating this, or is it just because she kept claiming there was threats, so you kept?
It's because she kept claiming there were threats. We went back out there 2 or 3 times in order to take reports for like the text messages. We kept
times
so it was
before
really
you
her
had a
fault.
hunch.
We
kept screenshotting the messages and like bringing them back, telling her to block the numbers, this, at the other. Hey, do you want to do digital forensics? This, at the other. She's like, no, I don't want to turn to my phone. It's the only phone I have. I don't have enough money, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually it's so like after the 3rd or 4th time, you're like,
yeah,
right?
something suspicious here, right?
And then at that point,
he was at Subway during
more
the polar
because
vortex.
You get more because you're looking for it.
Right.
Yeah,
no,
I understand.
Jesse Smollett joke. That was great, Sitch.
No, but here's I'm assuming that you've probably experienced this where you were working with someone, or maybe this happened to you, where either you or someone you're working with, they had a hunch about something, and they became pretty like, okay, I'm pretty sure this is what the story is, and then through further investigation, it turns out like that's not what the story is.
All the time.
Like, yeah, exactly, and it's very like can be very psychologically difficult for people to accept that their hunch was wrong.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing right there.
Yeah, and this is, I guess this is one of the main conversational shitty fucking things about this entire debacle is I think they assumed because I said this is my hunch, they were like, oh, you think this is factually true?
Yeah, I understand. Right, gotcha.
Yeah,
I'm just saying why I personally like I don't trust anyone, regardless of their bona fides, with anything.
No, of course.
Because it's just I think even the best investigators are they're prone to their own political emotional biases.
The funniest fucking thing is watching like the new Sherlock Holmes with like Benedict Cumberbatch, where he like he has like this hypothesis and he always ends up being fucking right, but his guesses are based off of almost nothing.
Well, that is Sherlock Holmes' MO, to be fair.
True, but I'm just saying like he was killed by a boomerang, and it's like what? How? Like how did you get there, bro?
Well, it's like man, have you seen Death Note?
I have not seen Death
Note. Oh, you might actually like it. It's all about like solving crime. So
yeah,
check it out. I don't know if you like anime at all. But...
Do you want to read some super chats?
Let me read some super chats.
There might be some for Connor.
Mick Swack for $20 says, I think Connor needed to express that the bias manifested as conservatives basically being banned for, quote, doing X while conservative. But Destiny's evidentiary standard for Republicans versus Democrats is the moon versus an anthill.
Bro, he ain't wrong. Fucking.
Well, I mean, I listened to that whole debate, and I don't know that anybody contested that there was political bias.
You're missing a 1 hour conversation
beforehand.
That Destiny and I had as a fucking solo stream where he's like, you think that conservatives are being banned off of social media by sole virtue of them being conservative, and I'm like, I've never fucking said that in my entire goddamn life. Like, and then when I thought about it, I was like, it's because they're engaging in behaviors like talking about COVID, talking about election shit, talking about groomers and all that kind of bullshit. It's correlated topics. Ben Shapiro can stay on Twitter as long as he doesn't use the T slur, right?
Of course.
So
yeah,
right. So and he's conservative. I don't doubt Ben Shapiro's
they're doing like a legalistic thing. They're saying, listen, conservatives are the only ones that break TOS. Well, the TOS was constructed so conservatives would be the only ones to break it. I mean, that's exactly what's happening.
And then how do you understand systemic discrimination against minorities, but you don't understand building a system that disproportionately discriminates against conservatives? And then you have to act like you have no idea what the fuck anybody is talking about.
But they're not being banned for being conservative. They're just breaking TOS.
Right. Some people
Which happens to align with progressive values. Weird.
Some people in the chat were claiming that you were being far more strong with your claim in the conversation.
Well, I was a lot more angry back then. I was being treated like an asshole.
Fair enough.
Oh, wow.
PC, thanks so much, PC, for the 10 gifted memberships. Elis the Aquanaut, thanks so much for being for your sugar for 8 months, says you guys need to come up with a catchphrase and I'll make you some shirts.
I told him.
Here's the catchphrase.
It was A-Team reigns supreme.
S-Class is the best.
I saw you tweeted out Soladoge's thing on the Reason channel. Soladoge.
We should watch that. We'll watch that clip. That's so funny.
It's Soladoge was super chatting, but his name is Soladoge. A-Team is oppressed.
S-Class suppresses A-Team. Yeah. He tweeted to Nick Gillespie at Reason.com.
And he read it out.
He read Soladoge. S-Class suppresses A-Team.
True.
Yes.
You know, it's funny because his co-host Zach laughed when he was
Yes.
reading it, so I'm wondering if Zach knows the reference. But
That was awesome. Totally made my day.
yes. Phil Kogan, thanks for $10, says the FBI found out about the laptop because they had Giuliani under surveillance. The FBI got the laptop from the store owner after he gave it to Giuliani. That's from the last Twitter files. Well, if that's from the last Twitter files, you'll have to.
Way.
If that's from the last Twitter files, you have to send it to me because literally every timeline I've seen, including from the New York Post, says the opposite of that. They say that the store owner gave the laptop to the FBI in 2019. No, it's even sillier. He tells the FBI in July of 2019 that he's had some laptop or something, or he contacts the FBI. I don't know, who knows.
Right.
It takes the FBI until December of 2019 to actually go out and get the laptop. And then it says he didn't give the laptop to Giuliani's lawyer until August 26th of 2020. So if you have something that says otherwise, you have to send it to me on Twitter.
Yeah, and can I just call out that super chatter real quick? If you don't have that information, you're just saying that. Like, don't muddy the waters any more than they've already been fucking muddied. Don't just throw shit out there. Like,
I don't think it was like
trying to figure this shit out.
I think a lot of times,
you
like,
super chat whatever you want. Okay,
as long as you pay it.
True.
You muddy the water as much as possible.
No, I don't think they're doing it.
is a fan of Chud Logic.
There
That's
you
been
go.
officially fucking confirmed.
Chud Logic is a fan of A-Team. What are you talking about?
I don't think they're doing it intentionally. I think people hear things and then they hear a bunch of like secondhand information or they misread something and then that becomes what they think is true. And then they tell you like legitimately they think that's what happened. So
confirmation bias is a bitch too. So try to keep an open mind as long as possible.
I don't think it was any intentional dishonesty. Because I've heard so many people talk about the story incorrectly. Including yourself, I would wager. And I think it's just people misunderstanding or misinterpreting things. So I usually try to give people charity on that stuff. But,
are we going in order on the super chats here? Or are you reading backwards?
I'm going in order.
Oh, okay.
Drew the Dogman, thanks so much for the $2.
Did you start with Texas?
Texas
P12 for $10.
Oh no! Maybe was that before the stream? I don't see that.
Adam, why don't let illegals vote? Because democracy is a.
I didn't even see that. He's asking you, why don't you let illegals vote?
Adam, why don't let illegals vote? Because democracy? ? Well, illegals are criminals, right? We don't let criminals vote. So
wow, you racist.
It's in the name. Illegal.
There you go.
Yeah,
we'll
people.
Have a voting conversation.
I'm not for letting incarcerated people vote either. So everyone thinks that's like a workaround on the voting thing, but I mean, why are we disenfranchising people who like work for a living? Anyway.
Boar Legion for $20.
Sorry, I
Thanks
was
so
reading
much.
PSYOP stuff.
Don't worry about
Twitter
it.
files, my bad.
Boar Legion says 12 days of Christmas is more than 8 days of Hanukkah. S-Class has the best ass, but A-Team reigns supreme. There you go.
Woo! Look at that.
Mark Ellison for $50. Thank you, Mark. Says, even if Sitch is right, we love you, Sitch. Well, I love you too, Mark. There's still a massive double standard when it comes to, quote, October surprises when we are comparing Trump to Biden. I don't know. Maybe my elephant is trying to find something even after 2 years. Well, I guess I'm not sure exactly what you mean by double standard. I mean, I agree with the double standard.
The Trump leaks and all that kind of shit. Like, which we already said, if it was Trump, they wouldn't have given.
Yeah,
a fuck. If it was a Trump kid, they would have let it fly.
The media bias is always there.
If that's what you mean, then I agree completely. I don't know. Actually, was there any Trump? Was there a Trump October surprise in 2020?
I thought it was the Hillary email investigation stuff.
What?
Wasn't there a big to do about Hillary's emails in 20?
No, it's 2016. I said in 2020. Was there some?
I'll be right
Trump,
back, guys.
Was there like a Trump October surprise that like tried to make Trump look bad in 2020?
I don't know.
I don't remember. Because if there was, it all got consumed by the Hunter Biden laptop.
There was the grab him by the pussy in 2016.
That was but I said in 2020. Was there a 2020 October surprise for
After
Trump.
grab him by the pussy, they were like, well, we can't, he's untouchable.
There's nothing else to go. There's nowhere to go from there.
Like, listen,
Right.
we just have to focus on suppressing this Hunter laptop
Right.
story.
Yeah, in 2016 there were a bunch of scandals. There was Ground by the Pussy. There was the Stormy Daniels thing.
Yeah.
There was the Russia-Trump collusion concept.
Right.
So, but yeah, I don't remember 2020.
There is a giant double standard, though. You fully admit that, right?
Oh, of course.
It's
But
just like because of the
it's not.
media.
I think you have to be delusional not to admit that. The media is obviously anti-Trump. Now you could be anti-Trump too and think it's justified, but you have to acknowledge that it's anti-Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Order the brains for $2. Adam, what's a good color art printer under $300? My answer was I don't know, because I don't have an art printer at the moment. So, but if anyone knows in the chat or in the comments, let us know.
Yeah. Daniel the Bruce says the Trump October 2020 surprise was him calling World War I dead suckers and losers. I kind of vaguely remember something about that, but yeah, it's funny. Since Trump said so much ridiculous stuff, it's like he would say something ridiculous and then you'd forget it because he'd say something ridiculous like, a couple days later. So it's all like water off a duck's back.
It's awesome.
It's a good strategy. Evan Sampson, thanks so much for being a 7th-month free will seeker, says, I'm behind, but I read that the FBI knew a copy had been made when they ran their digital forensics on the laptop, so they would have expected a leak. I don't know.
Interesting.
I'll ask Connor that. I don't know if that's familiar, or I'm not familiar if that is true. I read that what I read, it wasn't from the FBI's perspective. It was someone who was looking at the New York Post data. And they said that part of the problem that they had with authenticating it at first was the way in which the guy who had the data was looking through it. Apparently he he was organizing the material on the laptop itself.
No way.
So like he would make a folder on the laptop and it'd be like, Biden Burisma. And he'd like move things onto it. And so, but it's like, okay, so then he's tampering with the evidence that he's investigating, so it was like, it made it kind of like funky for them to go through. But,
what a dumbass.
Well, to be honest, I don't know if I would have thought of any of that stuff, but
what do you mean? I would have just copied the thing whole cloth and then.
No, but that's what he didn't have. He only had a copy. He gave the original to the FBI.
Right.
So on the copy, he was messing with it.
Gotcha. I gotcha. So he didn't keep a clean copy. But the copy was what ended up in Giuliani's hands, right?
Yeah, right. So, yeah, I don't know if maybe he had a clean copy. I don't know. Whoever's looking at whatever the New York Post had, I think it was not a clean copy.
He had it on a thumb drive that he was taking to work.
Yeah. There you go. Exactly.
Obvious deep stater there, right?
But no, I mean, that would be it. But if that's true, if the FBI saw that there was some kind of copy there, that would be a stronger feather towards leaning more towards the possibility of Connor's theory. Could be like, oh, well, they thought it was a copy, so they would anticipate that. But here's my problem. Here's my counter to that would be, if the FBI looked at the data and they saw there was a copy, why wouldn't they just go and arrest that guy and say, give us your copies?
My whole thing is just looking at it from an interpersonal situation. Like if I work for the FBI and I have fucking TDS off the charts, like I think Trump is the next coming of Hitler, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know I've got some buddies in the FBI that feel the exact same way. There's going to be somebody around that voted for Trump. Right?
You would
so
think,
I don't like, do I have coffee with my buddy and say, listen, like not only that, I mean, I know you better than anyone, Sitch. I wouldn't feel comfortable floating this idea with you. Like, hey, let's conspire to hide this Hunter Biden laptop story.
Yeah, but it's because I would say no.
Well, I mean, even if
I was a person, I would have said yes. Would you be afraid to ask me that?
No, I would be terrified. This is like a big fucking prison time and shit. Like the
Right.
people at Twitter have zero, like they're like, who cares? I got caught. Right? Like they're not going to jail for this. They're like, oh, I fucked up. I accidentally buried the story. And there's absolutely no teeth
Right.
in them hiding it. There's all kinds of ramifications if you work for the FBI.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, your job's basically on the line. And I mean, if you want to risk your job and if you think, okay, yeah, there are a bunch of people that would risk their job at the FBI. I mean, I guess if they're low level people at the FBI, but if you're, I mean, do you think low level people have access to this information about the Hunter Biden laptop, or is it only like career people that work their ass off to get high up in the FBI? So they have a lot on the line.
So. I wouldn't think it would be low level people.
Right.
I couldn't say for certain.
Yeah. So you're risking jail time, you're risking all kinds of shit. So I understand, slow walking the investigation, that seems easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get into, I want Twitter to actively suppress this information.
It's a far more complicated situation.
It's a complicated thing. I mean, if you want to do it alone, if you could act alone, if you're like,
well, you couldn't do that alone. It'd be too complicated.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Unless like Yoel Roth has one FBI contact that he only talks to, but even then that'd be just like very.
Well, maybe that's the situation, but I don't know. I mean, if I'm a congressman, I especially if I'm a Republican, I'm dying to investigate this. I'm dying to talk to Yoel Roth all day in front of the Senate or the Congress.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully there will be investigations.
But see, that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's going to be an investigation. Well, if the House Republicans have the authority to, they will investigate it. But I can predict it's going to be nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be exactly what I said. The FBI, they're going to say, we legitimately thought, based on the impeachment trial and other things, that there would be some kind of foreign interference leak revolving around Hunter Biden Burisma claims. And so we were just telling Twitter to look out for that. And then we we specifically didn't say anything about the Hunter Biden laptop, and we didn't answer any questions about the Hunter Biden laptop. And then Yoel Roth is going to say, he's going to confirm that and then say, yeah, we made our decision independently.
Yeah. Because they had no skin in the game. Of course, they could make whatever decision they look. They're fucking banning people just for whatever. That's like modus operandi at Twitter.
But it's not going to matter because
isn't that part of the problem though? What you just said.
Well, also, just before we move on, I want to say, like, also, if you run the experiment, like you're a straight shooter, you work for the FBI, and you are legitimately worried about misinformation and foreign meddling, you've got an information landscape that is rather challenging at this time, right? Because there's this Hunter laptop that's for real, but you don't necessarily know, like, how do you deal if the media latches onto a story that's is disinformation? Like, how do you confirm or deny that?
Yeah, can I just throw something at you, and then you can kind of bounce it off, because Sitch, you've been really good at.
I'll allow it.
But thank you. So basically, the consultation with these people is that it was going to be a hack and leak operation. They're not saying disinformation; they're saying hack and leak, like repeatedly. So
that's what it says in the pleading.
Yeah. So if it was planned to be a hack and leak, I don't know if the insinuation would ever be that the information was untrue. Because if you're hacking it and you're pulling it and then you're leaking it. You're not modifying it. Right. I know that's like a semantic difference, but at the same time,
no, it's important to Twitter's policy because, and I think you said this, if Twitter has a policy like, well, the information can be true, but if it's hacked, we're not going to post it, which I think is a crazy policy. But if that was their policy, then it would matter.
Is there any precedent for why they would have integrated that policy in the first place?
What do you mean?
Like, precedent? So for instance, was there any other big hack and leak that basically caused them to put this policy into place?
It's a good question.
Email thing? I mean, that was...
Well, okay. Well, actually, that's a good question. Did were people allowed to
Yeah,
post the stories about the DNC email leaks on Twitter? I assume they were.
When did
I remember
Twitter
people talking
start
about that.
hack and leak policy?
So yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. Why do they have that policy in the first place?
Oop. Oh no. No, it's just the first story that pops up is them amending their fucking hack and leak policy in the wake of
Because
the
of
Hunter
Of
Biden
course,
story.
yeah, that's what you would think happened, obviously.
Like, oh man. I don't have.
It's like
I don't want to sift
whack-a-mole.
through all of the. Twitter is now adding a controversial hacked materials policy, February 23rd of 2021.
Well, no, that's
Wait.
when
No,
they changed it.
21
No, that's when they changed it.
by Matt Binder. So,
Oh, thank you, Matt. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they had this policy from like really early on.
Yeah, because it makes sense with, revenge porn and stuff.
That was probably the thought process, or something, not like government secrets, but like revenge porn or something.
Ginger
I would
Miss Prime for $7.99 Aussie says, even if it was hacked, why should that matter? If the information is true, why should the FBI care? Hacked true isn't the same as disinformation.
I agree completely.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Well, the FBI wouldn't care. Twitter would care because they had that weird policy. So,
well, and
again, I don't know what. That's actually a really good question to find out. When did they have that policy, and what caused them to have that policy, if anything?
Well, and also you'd have to verify the veracity of the information, just because, people say that it's from the laptop, and that the laptop is real doesn't mean the information is real. You have to verify each independent claim.
Right, and that was part of the claim around the Hillary email, DNC emails, that people were saying, well, just because some of the emails are real doesn't mean all of them are real, right?
Right.
So, to my knowledge, no one made a claim that any of the emails were fake, to my knowledge.
And nobody tried to foist a fake email.
Right.
Well, and that for me is like where, I'm noticing a pattern here I don't like that's just where a lot of people have said like, oh, well, they didn't suppress it. They didn't ban it. And it's like, you don't have to ban it. All you have to do is undermine the truth of it. And then at that point, it becomes like a doubt in the public consciousness about whether or not there's anything like meaty there.
Mm-hmm.
Mr.
Girl just sent a Streamlabs. I think you might have to read it.
Okay. Okay. Well, before I read it, let me just say, while you were gone, someone said this helps your case. There's a claim that would help your case. They said the FBI knew a copy had been made because when they ran their digital forensics on the laptop, it would show that there was a copy, so they would have expected a leak. So you can investigate that claim.
I mean, like I can see it because if they were doing digital forensics, but I just don't know how you would corroborate that. So, for instance, like I would have to. So, to me, it makes sense because part of the alleged reason why the FBI was slow to act was because when they started investigating the laptop, they couldn't like corroborate like timelines, and it seems like some of the cloud software had been accessed since they took possession of the laptop, and there were some emails that were sent that they couldn't like verify whether or not it was actually Hunter, and like this, that, the other. So that's where it was kind of like muddy footprints in a murder scene, right?
Yeah, that was what I've seen.
Yeah, but then that kind of feels convenient to me too.
So I would think if the FBI, like, this is my counter. I said if the FBI had did their forensics on the laptop and saw a copy was made, wouldn't they go back to the laptop owner or the store owner and say, hey, what the fuck?
No, I mean not necessarily, because even then that could have. I'm going to give the Russian stuff a little bit. Like they don't know. They might not have known the exact. No, wouldn't they have a timestamp for when it would have been copied?
I don't know the technical aspects of
this. This feels like strong speculation, but it's still speculation.
Sure, you can look into it. I'm just saying. There's counters to it, but it's worth looking into. Yeah. Mr. Girl, you're a good friend. Adam's a good friend, Mr. Girl. Thank you, Mr. Girl, for giving us $6. Says Counterpoints, if you need someone to talk to about the abuse you sustained vis-a-vis Destiny, please feel free to reach out. P.S. S-Class is best class.
Nice. Interesting. Wait, hold on. Does that help you or hurt you?
Well, I'm pretty sure that's not the actual Mr. Girl, but
Right. Okay.
No,
And
I
I
think
actually
that
reached out to
was.
Mr.
I
Girl,
think that
been like,
is.
oh,
I literally would not be surprised. Mr. Girl and I have DM since the incident. He was like, "Hey, I noticed a lot of things that happened in that conversation that I was complaining
No
about to
way.
Destiny."
that's funny.
No way.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
No, straight
There
up.
you go.
Well, but okay, but at the same time, like, can we just admit, like, it's a little shitty to have a debate opponent come into the room, you assign them a position, and then you fight them on the assigned position rather
Of
than their
course it
actual
is. That's
position?
straw manning 101.
Do you
All right,
have
cool. Check it out.
the stream pulled up? Can you see this?
Can I?
My amazing graphic design. Are you privy to that at the moment?
No, I'm not. I can pull it up now, though. I mean,
Why? What do you
I
want to
do.
see?
I am a moderator on Sitch and Adams, so you know.
Because I want to bring up this meme. I want to
Show me.
say, look, I feel like you dodged a bullet, Connor, because I don't see you. I don't see you.
Oh,
in
the
this meme.
picture.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Picture.
artwork.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
now I have a conspiracy theory there. I think I was there, and then they changed it to Chud at the last second.
Really?
No, I'm kidding. Like, it's a white dude with a beard, so it kind of looks like me, but realistically, it's probably
Wasn't it?
Chud.
That's Mr. Girl's girlfriend that drew that, right?
Right? Yeah, and
Because at
then
first I was like, what kind of insane person would spend all the time drawing this? And I was like, oh,
listen,
that makes sense.
can we admit that it goes hard?
I mean, it does
goes-
go hard. I'm not gonna
it
say
goes-
it doesn't go hard. That is definitely
it goes
true.
fucking
It goes very
shit
hard.
goes hard.
Yes. It's
No.
pretty crazy though. So the little that's like the artwork you'd expect it. You know when they're like, oh, this person suffered like childhood abuse, and here's their artwork. Like
Mhm.
that's the kind of artwork you'd expect to see. But
Listen,
I did not know
Uh-huh.
that this was Mr. Girl's significant other that did this.
isn't it Mr. Boy? What's her name?
Because
Miss
I
Boy
thought,
or something, yeah.
look, this
Mrs.
is
Boy.
Mr. Girl is Mr. Girl and Lav are like eating up in the background.
hmm
I mean,
Is Mr. Girl in the background?
Yeah, he's the one getting eaten by the dogs.
Oh shit.
But that's
I just saw
not. This
Lav's
is so. I was
leash.
like, this is how I immediately thought this is how embarrassing for Mr. Girl. But
that's
now,
that's his
now that
face.
Mr. Girl's girlfriend did this, I'm like, oh my god, really?
No, because it's supposed to be like, Destiny is the, master over all these, people that are his
Being-
dogs and bitches, essentially. And then when he's
Well,
done with them,
in-
he
in-
throws them to the dogs.
Yeah, and like a king sadist built on the throne of bones of previous orbiters that he fed to the dogs.
Yeah.
Being
Yes,
thrown to the
yes.
dogs by Destiny is not really a good. I mean, I wouldn't put that on my resume, much less like make a painting of it and hang it in my living room.
Mr. Girl leans into the fucked up shit of the moment. So basically, like the pedophile shit, the free thought experiments, I kill pedophiles, the rap album, cuties, all that kind of
There you
shit. He
go.
Yeah,
leans
but I
into
think
it.
that's a mistake. He needs to kind of turn around from. He needs to like.
I think he's obsessed with
I
running
don't
that
disagree.
boat into the boat into
See,
the rock.
Sitch knows.
Well,
He
no,
needs a
I agree
good
with you, Adam, that when I
confidant.
looked at this, my first thought was, is this pro or anti-Destiny? I can't tell immediately.
Well, isn't that great art that you can debate, right?
Well, I guess it depends
So-
what your purpose of it is, but I assume it's supposed
Yeah.
to be anti-Destiny, having it
I
be
would
like
say-
Ramsey Bolton over here.
I would say it's relatively critical of the power dynamic between Destiny and his
I
owners.
would agree.
That would
with
be
you,
my
yes.
assessment.
I would agree with you. Literature Devil, hey Literature Devil, thanks for the $5. Says Adam, be careful about the comic. Lots of creators are getting shadow banned. My new comic got hit. I'm officially a threat now, I guess.
Ouch. Ouch.
Man, that's awful.
Is it because it's not AI titties?
Well, you can obviously drop a link to your comic in the chat. I believe Literature Devil is a mod, so
Yeah.
Dr. Alpha is
You got shadow banned from YouTube, or you got shadow banned from
Indiegogo.
Indiegogo? Yeah,
I think he means Indiegogo, right?
that's weird. That sucks.
And then, fellas, I'm gonna hang out for like another 12 minutes. I
That's
need
it.
to
Oh, okay.
get a snack and go to sleep. I'm
Well,
a
let me see if
wagey,
there's any.
man.
Let me read some super chats. We'll try to go through the super chats because I'm sure there's some talking about.
I have not escaped the wage cage yet. We are working on it.
Soul
Okay,
of
that's
Doge
good.
for $2 says Connor, favorite Warhammer fiction SM chapter.
So I play Deathwatch. As a matter of fact, let me see me on your screen. This is roughly 5,000 points of Deathwatch. So
All
Is
right.
Deathwatch a Warhammer?
It's a
expansion?
Space Marine chapter that is made up of all the Space Marine chapters. So they send all their best people who kill aliens to basically all be a part of one military organization, and then they just hunt down and murder the fuck out of aliens.
There you go. Cake Sauce, thanks so much for being a Secret for 7 months. Says, glad you're talking this all out so nicely so far. Love the show. Thanks for helping me check my biases on a regular basis. Go A team and S class too. Well, thank you.
Have y'all been catching shit
for this?
Yeah,
I mean, I catch shit
on Twitter. I mean, because we have a substantially more right wing audience, so they would believe more so the narrative that you believe than what we believe.
Well, I don't believe anything until.
I just want to say I was going to save this for the closing remarks or whatever, but I want to say I appreciate there's obviously an opportunity here to just kick me right in the sack while I'm fucking down, right? And be like, you debated shittily, you fucking retard. Why don't you represent the right wing better?
Why
you
would I
fucking
want
asshole?
to do that?
These are all the rhetorical points I would have used, you pussy.
We want you to improve. Come on.
I'm an individual filled with love and peace. Okay.
I'm a big fan of that. Thank you.
Yes.
What I wanted to thank is in the Dave Smith conversation, like I was in the chat like sarcastically being like, rip his head off. Like
I saw, yeah.
But what I liked about that one, there was a whole bunch of like clout dynamics in that.
Which Dave Smith, one or two, because they're like night and day. Okay.
Yeah. So in one, basically I felt like there's a temptation there, right, to just like bend to the clout of the person that's in the room with the most amount of clout. Yes. And I didn't really see you guys doing that at all. Like I saw you you weren't being yeah. Well, okay. Well, they weren't being.
I mean, I'm trying to line guests up for the show, so I'm like, I mean, you got to consider.
I do not bend. Okay.
Listen. I know it might not be great for getting on the Joe Rogan podcast, but I appreciated that you weren't like.
I'm glad. I will sacrifice going to Joe Rogan just for you to appreciate.
Oh my
me.
God, this is the irony, because we have zero clout bending to do to Kurt, but Kurt is somehow the one that's like banned from the show.
I know.
But
he's an asshole. What am I supposed to do?
But that was like a lot of people, they'll just see Jimmy Dore's algorithmic numbers and they'll be like, oh, what can I do to keep him on here for as long as possible so I get that crossview shit? And you're like, hey, isn't it funny that this part of your perspective is fucked up? And he's like, all right, I'm out.
I know. Yeah, what do you do?
No, well, Dave, but I love that.
But Dave came back, so props to him.
Bless Dave. I literally he responded to my reply on Twitter where I said, I don't think he knew that I was cheering for you to rip his head off. So I replied, I was like, hey, listen, I know the first conversation was rough, but I know Sitch and Adam are genuinely good dudes who are capable of having a good conversation. Can you please come on? And he actually replied to me. But... No, he did. He replied and he was like, listen, I already agreed to come back. We'll give it another shot. I still feel like they were talking a lot of shit about me after I left.
Oh, we were, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm willing to give it another shot. And I was like, thanks, man. I really appreciate you.
We talk a lot of smack. I mean, that's basically our entire show. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, the way I took it a little personal in my most previous debate, he took it a little personal too. So
people have this like weird sense, I think, where like, oh, if I'm gonna try to have like productive, calm conversations with people, that I can't but then I can't talk shit about them. It's like, well, that doesn't mean I agree with them. I could talk shit about them, but during the conversation, I'm not gonna be like an asshole.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. Unless, of course, they're being an asshole to me. But
it's fairly normal. I just wanted to call it out and appreciate it that you guys.
Well, no, I appreciate that you
clout brained.
I appreciate that you went out of your way to send him that message. So
yeah,
that's very. I think a lot of people actually did. So
I appreciate even when we disagree. I appreciate the candor of the Sitch and Adam show.
Clout brain, you really do have to dial back as much as possible, even like as you're coming up. You want to be conscious of it, but you don't want to make it like front and center. So
the second Connor leaves, I'm gonna start shit talking how stupid his position.
It's fine. I'm gonna ignore your subreddit.
Hated Dill, thanks so much for being a Feels here for 5 months. Says 2 shows in a row. Make sure to stretch a team. New Year's Day is going to be on a Sunday, so that will be fun. Merry Christmas, you squirts.
Yes, thanks for the A-team.
Soldoge, conspiracy that S-Class suppresses A-team. Thank you for being here for more months. Says, I missed the stream. I'm assuming Connor made Adam cry. Adam, don't lie. We all know Counterpoints is a Warhammer channel that does politics on the side.
Yeah, I often wonder why he even does politics, why he just doesn't like become a successful Warhammer channel. But I think I've told you that.
Well, news on that front. So I've divided up content. So now I have a second channel, Counterpoints Coliseum, where I'm just posting the streams. I have Counterpoints, a new essay channel where I'll post my delegations video where I kind of go over my entire perspective and my overview of the debates. So I'll link that. So technically it's 3 channels, but Counterpoints 30K, which will soon be Counterpoints 40K, is at 32,000 subs, roughly like 500,000 views this month.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then basically there's less than 10-minute lore, which isn't as popular, but I've had some really good videos in there that did well. Where basically I'm breaking down lore independent of any media. And then the main thing that people really like is me breaking down the Warhammer TV series and any third-party animations. So basically, if you're into Warhammer 40K, you've watched some animations, but you don't know what the fuck is going on the screen because you're not part of the universe, you can watch the TV show while I explain it to you and break down interesting parts of the lore.
Cool.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Roy for $20 says, if you're pissing off Destiny while being nothing but fair and he needed backup, you're probably scratching a weak point or weak spot. So there you
go. Destiny's like undefeatable rhetorically. So I mean it's really pointless to even debate him. Do you disagree, Sitch? I mean, look, you can go in with all the facts on your side and still lose. Like
I felt like the reason why my actual ideas were never contended with was because that's not what he wanted to talk about. So he had to assign me the positions and then box me into them.
Well, I'd have to go and actually listen to it, the comment, but
it's
I mean, it's pretty brutal, Sitch. I don't know why you're.
That's why I don't want to listen to Connor getting.
It's great.
Brutalized.
What are you talking about?
I'm like, I don't want to listen to my friend Connor getting raped in an alleyway, and I was like, but it's amazing.
Wicked
great
Supreme.
Content.
Look, Wicked Supreme.
Yeah.
I mean, he seems like an angel, right? But
most of the time,
he got the fucking belt out. I was like, shit.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure so I get pissed off from the hall monitor content, but then Sherry says like you should concede on being an investigator, and I call her a cunt a few times.
I did hear that clip, and I did stand up and I did clap. So
well, so basically like, oh my god. I'm pretty sure like in the aftermath, I heard Supreme like getting it in too. Like where he was like, oh yeah, died in your arms. Did you fucking murder him or some shit? Like he said some shit like that. And I'm like, bro, like I'm thinking to myself, it's like, unless you think I'm a liar, I'm literally talking about like the ending of somebody's life and me being triggered by what you're fucking saying to me right now. And you're dunking on somebody getting murdered. Like that's
as someone said, Wicked Supreme's name is Wicked Supreme.
Well, this is why Sitch has good advice on the. Sitch and Adam both have good advice because it's my advice too. Like just the accolades are like pointless. If you would have just conceded, if you would have said, "Listen, this debate is not about me. This debate is not about my experience. This debate is about the facts." And let's just leave the personal attacks out of it, and let's talk about the facts. Like it would have changed everything. Like they started going after you personally. It's
hard to say, but
anyway,
let's.
I mean, it would have made it would have been an attempt
if I had walked in. If I had walked in with a script and I said I'm not leaving until I get these points out, that would have been like a better conversation, because then if they're dunking about like, but if they're dunking against like a coherent points,
you took the bait because you started arguing your bio, you started arguing your background, and just like Sitch said, like it's just irrelevant. It's totally irrelevant. You could have turned it around, Destiny. You could have said, why are we pivoting to my bio? Like, why are we talking? Like, what is this whataboutism about my experience as an investigator?
Listen, I come from the debate academy of the Prime Kai Reverie Roundtable, which is a Burger King parking lot fucking knife fight. All right. So basically, if there's a point that somebody's pushing me back on, I'm gonna charge that shit like a fucking bull. I'm not saying it's good tactics. I'm not
That's a
saying it's good
mistake.
rhetoric.
Yeah, it's a
I
total
don't.
mistake.
I
Yeah.
don't care. At some
You
point, you
should.
could fucking bold.
You should.
Listen.
That's how people
Listen.
lead you around. That's how
I
people lead you around
know.
by the nose.
Okay, but this is like
Oh.
there.
Sitch is getting
Okay.
way better at just being like, okay, ignore all that shit. Let's talk about what I want to talk about.
Well, then you gotta come show us how it's done, bud.
Okay, there you go.
So but basically like there's just some shit like so for instance like nobody I don't think I did well in that debate. I don't think anybody does, but I did get like probably between 10 and like 30 messages over Discord and Twitter that are like, hey, I disagree with you, but everybody in that conversation was a fucking piece of shit and they were purposefully ignoring what you were saying.
You want to name
So,
some names? Throw some people under the Destiny bus.
What you want me to fucking start doxing
No,
TGGers for
bring up
secretly sympathizing with me? Yeah, that'd be great content actually.
It would be.
So no, but that's kind of my point too. Is like I try to come into these conversations like earnest, say what I think and say what I feel as I think and as I feel them. Right? Like I'm not trying to control like everything that I do all the time. And then basically, I think that exposes the people who are doing the angled shit where they're overthinking the rhetoric or they're overthinking how to trap people or they're overthinking how to play the game and all that kind of shit. And so as a result, if you have somebody who's trapped in like an ideological cult or like a cult of personality, when you show that they're being like manipulative and spidery and obtuse and like all that kind of shit, even if I don't win the fucking conversation or the debate, you can kind of break a few people off of that audience where they're like, hey, you were a fucking spurg, but you were honest while you were being a fucking spurg. Whereas the person that I was previously a fan of is being a manipulative, obtuse cunt. So you can kind of
right. I wonder in those situations, like if you're talking to someone or debating someone that you hate, like more power to you. But if you're talking to someone or debating someone that you like, it might be better, and I know it's very difficult. This is very counter what the internet wants to just be like, I think people are very emotionally charged right now. We shouldn't have this conversation now. We should, everyone should cool off and we should talk later. That is if you want to salvage a relationship.
Nah.
But okay, whatever makes the best content, I guess.
Listen, Leroy Jenkins. Okay.
Goro Cero Doom Patrol for $7 says, Adam, you had us all worried when you were smelling smoke yesterday. Perhaps you should post your address in chat so someone can do a wellness check if worse comes to worse, or better yet, a verified Sitch and Adam member can do the wellness check for you.
Sorry,
did Adam leave?
Can you reread that?
Oh my god. I'll read it when Connor's gone. Solodoge for $2 says, Sitch, the FBI has the power to destroy old Twitter's stock by simply saying old Twitter, not anymore. Old Twitter stock by simply saying they are investigating them. It will always be a one-sided relationship, and it's silly to claim it could ever be otherwise. It's inherently corrupt. Well, I don't know if I agree with that. Because the FBI is not limitless of power. If the FBI just says we're going to investigate Twitter and they don't have good grounds to do so, and it looks like some obviously, politically biased bullshit, I mean, all those people are going to get fired. So I don't know if I agree. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but Twitter, I haven't really seen evidence of Twitter being afraid of the FBI. I mean, we see Twitter multiple times in Twitter files pushing back against the FBI, not doing what the FBI wants. So, I don't know. Lucifer Domer for 9 months says A-Team reigns supreme. Also, Connor would play a great Cal Drago in the new Warhammer 40K series.
Oh, sorry. Ask that again. I was reading some stuff.
Someone said you would play a good Caldor Drago in the new Warhammer 40K series.
Well, I am endlessly angry, so that is true. Caldor Drago is basically he's the Doom guy of the Warhammer 40K universe.
When did this character come into existence?
A long fucking time ago.
Oh, I was wondering if there's a copy of
Grey Knight.
The Game of Thrones character, or the Game of Thrones character is a copy of him. But
oh yeah, no. Caldor Drago was probably before Khal Drogo.
Right. George R. R. Martin's a hack. Chaos Learland for $2 says, screw democracy, crown wormy. There you go. True. I think Adam is gone, but
Whoever said, oh, I'll wait for him to come back. Yeah, I did see the super chat who's saying that people who need to, or Counterpoints fans need to be called the CP team. I saw you, you son of a bitch.
That's your name. It's the new team
The
name.
fucking the CP team. Jesus Christ.
Well, we can't say team because we already have a team. It's got to be CP something.
I think I have to lean into it because who was it?
CPers?
Yeah, Tiberius called me. He was like, "What do you think about this CP?" And I was like, "Don't ever fucking call me that again." I will leave.
What about the CP kids?
The CP.
There you go. Counterpoints fans, you have a new nickname, the CP kids.
Oh, wow.
God.
Got him.
Please.
Got him.
I'm just running into fucking rakes. It's great. All right, but hey, it's 12:05 EST. I am away.
Okay, you get out of here.
I need to get a snack and go to bed.
Later.
Thanks for coming on.
No, I appreciate the good faith. I appreciate you walking me through it. I appreciate you posing some stuff and pointing out the slant. The CP enjoyers fucking kill me. So and then I appreciate you guys. I hope you have a beautiful night.
Love you too. See you later, CP.
All right. Love you, counter socially. I can't think of anything that insinuates you want to bang kids based off of your name. So
yeah.
I guess you chose correctly.
Yes.
Bye,
See you later.
Wowzers.
The Justice 35 for $10 says, A team likes the streams and finds tips artists $20 for commission work, while S class pays artists an exposure. A team reigns supreme. Happy Hanukkah, Sitch, and Merry Christmas.
Look at that.
There you go.
Yeah. You go. Pulling a Hassan on me.
I know. Jeez.
What a bastard.
Quizna Todd Business for $20 says, thank you. Says, Merry Xmas, guys. I'm visiting my retired Harvard bigwig family member this Christmas, and I can ask them anything. Adam wants to know why they don't accept everyone with top grades. Sitch, what do you want to know? I DM'd you for context. Oh.
Yeah, what do you want to know? A big secret do you want answers to?
Oh, wait. I gotta say, too, Canvas Infinitum made me sweaters to compete with your sweater.
Oh, really?
You should bring up, too, the picture I sent you of Wormy looking at the sweater.
I can do that.
Like, what the fuck is this business?
That's what I was laughing about when Connor was like...
I know.
Wormy's jealous.
Oh, here you go. I see your DM. I don't know. Think about it. I can't think of... I mean, Adam has his question about the Harvard admissions, which I'd be interested in that too. Is it a, what goes into Harvard's decision-making process into figuring out like how much new admissions or how, whether to increase admissions or not and what level to increase them. So,
yeah.
I mean, I would be interested to know the details on that. Also ask him if he thinks Harvard's become too woke.
Well, that's a good question.
Literally, I read that one. FP69 for $2 says, this is mud. Don't get it in your water. Listen, don't call CP mud, okay? It's a good guy. You should never told me that. I'm just going to call him CP forever now. So, that's too good to pass up.
Yeah. Well, but you just said that he's a good guy, which is not really the right thing you want to say.
That's the joke.
Christian, you like CP? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're telling me?
I love...
Careful now. Careful.
I love counterpoints.
Careful now. Yeah,
I love counterpoints.
You're playing with fire. You realize?
I love counterpoints. Okay. I know.
Look at Wormy. Wormy's not having any of this.
Yeah, Wormy's like, bitch, you trying to replace me with a sweater? So that sweater, CT got ad on that sweater.
Yeah, it's badass. I mean, it's so a little gay, but I'm 20% soy. I can pull it off.
It's got Wormy on it. So. Wormy's like, you trying to replace me with a sweater, bitch?
Yeah, exactly. So
cannot do this.
We've got Sitch here with the menorah.
There you go.
I guess Canvas Infinitum did these.
Yeah, thank you, Canvas Infinitum. He said,
Look at
so you can
this.
compete with Adam's sweater.
Look
So
at
there you go.
that. I like how you've got like the JQ, or wait,
What?
the GQ. Sorry, I guess it's got you've got the GQ, Gentleman's Quarterly,
So I got
not
the
Jewish
JQ
Quarterly.
pose. You're saying I have a JQ pose in this picture? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe I guess this is kind of the JQ, isn't it?
There you go.
The
Yeah.
Jewish Quarterly
There you
pose
go.
there. Oh, look how cool I am.
Yep. There you go. There I am with my culturally sensitive
Mhm.
Hanukkah sweater and the snowman sweater. Yeah.
And here's the snowman version.
Right.
Look at this. Same fashionable pose.
It's so funny, like being a South Floridian, I have like no concept of winter like the rest
I
of the country does.
know. We only get about, a month or two to really be able to wear a jacket or a sweater. So,
It's usually like here it gets cold in like January, not really in
yeah.
December. January, February can get a little cool.
Okay.
That's about it.
You're going to get a little bit of reprieve.
Little bit coolness. So thank you, Canvas.
Yeah, amazing.
I was
Thank you.
feeling inadequate next to Adam, so I'll show pictures. CT got me some. CT got me Hanukkah socks that have menorahs,
I can grab those from the DMs if you want.
and Harker got me Hunter x Hunter socks, which are pretty badass. So I got Jew socks and Hunter x Hunter socks.
Always cool.
Christian Baller for $5 says, Sitch, what's the deal with the CIA killing JFK thing? Is it real or nonsense? P.S. Connor fans should be called the CP team. There you go.
Oh,
Thank you,
God.
Christian. I should have figured it came from you, Christian. Or is a troublemaker? As for I don't know. I'll say I have literally looked at 0% of the JFK thing. I haven't read a single article about it. I just see people talking about it. I saw Tucker Carlson was talking about it. I don't know what anyone says about it. I haven't looked into any of it because I literally don't care. But I guess maybe I should.
How can you not care?
I mean, obviously, to say killed JFK, it's a big deal. I'm skeptical that I would look at it and see that information, but
I mean,
I
obviously
haven't
you
looked
would
into it at
care
all.
if it was true. So
Yeah, I would care, obviously. Oh, thank you. There it is. There's my Jew socks. CT also got me candy corn socks because she knows how much I like candy corn.
yeah.
And
Really?
she got me
You're
a
a big
little.
candy corn fan, huh?
She got me a little Pokemon. I call him the Ho-Ho, a little Pokemon Ho-Ho model that you can make.
She got me one of these too. I like to think it's a duck, but evidently,
Well, it says goose on the label. Yeah, she got me one of those
oh,
too.
it does.
Yes.
Damn
It
it.
can be a duck in our hearts. Oh,
Well,
I'm
I
so glad
feel
you
like
said
if
that.
I just cut part of the neck out, I feel like it's just that long neck, right? Here, I'll fix it. There you go.
It's so funny.
Look at the duck now. It's perfect.
There you go. We just taped. You don't have to cut it. You just tape the neck down.
Quack.
We got to play Goose Game at some point. I love it.
Oh, is that what inspired the goose?
Yes. Well, the horse-sized duck inspired the goose. The duck. But it's funny. So, I told my mother
Uh-huh.
about the presents.
Your mommy?
I told my mommy about the presents, and she said, why did they get you a duck?
Uh-huh.
And I said, well, I said on the stream we often talk about whether you can defeat a horse-sized duck.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that I could, and Adam said that he can't.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mom said, well, why do you think you can defeat a horse-sized duck? And I said, well, they have hollow bones. And she immediately said without prompting, oh, so you could kick their legs out.
Wow.
And I was like, damn, my mom is based. Now I know where I get it from.
Wow.
Even my mom was like, you could kick out those duck legs.
I mean, but they would still get you with the wings, right? They're not going to just look, if a duck can't stand, it's going to fly.
Uh-huh. Okay, whatever.
Well, it's just going to fly over to a little pond.
I'll get you.
First of all,
Mhm.
the duck is going to grab you
Yeah.
in its beak, and then it's going to fly over to the lake,
Uh-huh.
you know,
That's not good. Yeah, if you're
with its
slow,
broken legs, and it's
if
just
you
going to
just
swim on the lake while you drown.
no, yeah, okay. I don't know if do you think ducks are intelligent? Do you think a duck would conceptualize the idea like, oh, I can drown this thing in a lake?
Yeah.
Because I don't. I don't think ducks are that smart.
Well, I mean, it's got a horse-sized brain though, so it's got to be a lot smarter than a normal-sized duck.
The size of the brain doesn't make you smarter necessarily.
It does.
I don't think that's true. Well, actually, like how I know that dinosaurs had small brains, but they were small for a proportion of their body. Wasn't it still like a big brain in their big fucking head, or was it a tiny brain?
It's the excess mass above a certain capacity to run the body. So as you scale the body up,
no, but like
the excess
so for
mass
example,
also scales up.
Yeah, but if you had like a giant brain, but it was all like inner cortex lizard brain, that wouldn't be smart.
Yeah, obviously.
How big was a dinosaur brain?
It's surplus brain capacity.
Oh, you're right. Look at this. Well, I don't know. It says brain. It says dinosaur brains. Well, I don't know. There's lots of different dinosaurs. This is saying that humans have bigger brains than dinosaurs.
You can look at the closed captioning. Sitch just said, "Oh yeah, you're right." Again, he always says that.
Okay, he could be right about the brains. But anyway, I would contend that a horse-sized duck would not be more intelligent than a normal duck.
Why? Look, the excess brain capacity will scale up
okay.
with the size of the duck.
I don't think it works that way.
It does.
No. I disagree.
Okay. You're gonna die, Sitch.
As I said, dinosaurs are very big. They don't have bigger brains. So
I'm here to kill you. You're gonna die.
There you go. Lightning Ninja 36, thank you for the $5. Says Mahler was destroying Destiny in episode 200. Unfortunately, everyone else just kept jumping in and saving Destiny. That was Mahler's claim too. Yes.
Yeah, and I tried my hardest to get everyone to shut up. I mean, it's on record.
Potato, thanks so much for being outside the simulation. Our Uncle Potato been outside the simulation for 5 months.
Wow, that's amazing.
He says that Connor's team name should be the CP Enjoyers.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. That's why he's friends with Mr. Girl, isn't it?
There you go. I like it. Lucer Doman, I'm gonna stick with the CP Kiddos. CP Kids. CP Kiddos.
That's so wrong, man.
So funny.
It's not funny. You're gonna get messed up.
I'm not getting in trouble. He'll get in trouble. Loser the Doberman for 5 Canadian says, we got 38 centimeters of snow in the last 24 hours on Vancouver Island. The dogs love it, but it sucks to shovel. A-Team reigns supreme.
Woo! Where's the holiday cheer in that A-Team reigns supreme? That's what I want to know.
It was when you said, woo! There it was. Goro Ciro, the Doom Patrol, said, Adam, you had us all worried about smelling smoke yesterday. Perhaps you should post your address in chat so someone can do a wellness check if worse comes to worse, or better yet, I, a verified Sitch and Adam member, can do the wellness check for you.
I'll post my address really quick here.
Okay, thank you.
It's 1600 Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania Avenue.
Pennsylvania Avenue.
There you go. Listen, if you see any gates or security, don't worry. I'll buzz you in. Just approach the gate and don't listen to anyone else.
Washington, D.C.
There you go. Adam's been lying about living in California this whole time. He lives in D.C.
90210.
Dr. Diller for $3. Dr. Diller for $3 says, that's all well and good, but the real question remains, when will you stop running and introduce Riggs on EFAP? Everyone loves a cousin fucking train wreck. To be fair to Riggs.
Riggs showed up on Twitter today. I haven't seen him forever. So.
Oh, really? That's
yeah.
To be fair to Riggs, he didn't know it was his cousin until afterwards. Okay?
Don't be mean to Riggs. Okay, Riggs said that it was like third cousin, and she was super, super hot.
Was it third cousin? I thought it was closer than that.
No, it was like a third cousin or something.
Okay.
Look, he never met the girl before the family reunion.
Well, if it's at a family reunion, you should be a little sus. I thought it was I thought the story was he didn't know it was his third cousin or second cousin or first cousin or sister, or whoever it was.
I remember the pertinent details.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem suspicious in any way,
Okay.
shape, or form. Like,
I mean, listen, it's fun to make fun of Riggs.
it is, but at the same time,
I feel like he deserves it. I don't know why.
I usually draw the line at accusing people of incest. I don't. It's
Mm.
like a weird thing with me.
Okay. I mean, like you said with you. I mean, generally people don't like to be accused of committing incest.
I know.
I know, like it's just the you.
Yeah, no, it's generally people.
I think it's a general rule. Yeah.
It gets them
Okay.
riled up, but
Mm-hmm.
you do you.
Gets you excited? Is that what you're saying?
It gets you excited accusing people of incest?
You can interpret that any way you want. Let's see. Is that it?
Oh, wow.
CT for 2 hours says, I don't do nice things for people. This is all lies and slander. That is true. That's true.
All right.
But thank you, CT, for the socks.
Yeah,
And for
thanks
the sweater for Adam. Yes.
It's amazing.
Adam only accuses people of necrophilia. True. Anyways, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for your incredibly generous donations. Thank you, Connor, for coming on. I thought we had a good, calm, productive conversation. I hope we took a little bit of soothing cream to
Don't say that.
to you after your violent alleyway event. And thank you all. You, even though it was a short stream, you all who made it to the end, you are the true heroes. I think the next stream will be on next Sunday is Christmas, so we're not gonna be streaming then. So we'll probably be doing another Monday stream. So we'll see you all on Monday. Have a happy Christmas. Have a Merry Hanukkah. And we'll see you all next time.
Bye-bye.